everyone, to our last council meeting of 2025. Woohoo! And very excited to get proceedings moving here today. And with that, Madam Clerk, would you please read the adequate notice of compliance statement?
Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by the City Clerk's office in preparation of the Council Annual Meeting Notice dated December 16, 2024, which was properly distributed and posted per statutory requirements. Please be advised that fire exits are to my right, your left, and at the back of the room. The city has a listening system to assist the hearing impaired. If anyone needs hearing assistance, please obtain the system at the dais and return it thereafter.
Thank you so much. Roll call, please.
Mr. Boyer?
Present.
Ms. Hamlet?
Here.
Ms. Kalmanson?
Here.
Mr. Pulowski?
Here.
Mr. Smallwood?
Here.
Ms. Toad?
Here.
President McTiernan.
Present. At this time, I would like to call on Ms. Donna Patel to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. All right. Madam Clerk, will you please read at this time the explanatory note regarding closed sessions and hearings and comments?
A closed session meeting as authorized by state statute was announced and held prior to the start of this meeting, and the known items for discussion were listed on the published closed session agenda. Please be advised that council meetings are broadcast live on Comcast Channel 36 and Verizon Channel 30, and rebroadcast on Thursdays and Saturdays on HTTV, Comcast 36, and Verizon 33. When invited to speak, please come to the lectern, clearly state your name and address, spell your last name, and speak into the podium microphone so that your comments can be understood by all and properly recorded. Whenever an audience or council member reads from a prepared statement, please give or email a copy to the city clerk at cityclerk@cityofsummit.org. To help facilitate an orderly meeting and to permit all to be heard, speakers shall limit their comments to 3 minutes. Unless you are using an electronic device to follow the meeting agenda or need it for professional emergency contact purposes, please turn it off. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. At this time, do I have a motion to approve the minutes from regular and closed session of December 2nd, 2025?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, motion carries. All right, we are on to our report section of our meeting. Madam Mayor, do you have a report for us this
I do,
second meeting of
Council
December?
President. I do. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Can't believe it's actually the last meeting in December, last meeting of the year. I would like to make sure that everybody's aware that we have our reorganization meeting on January 6th at 7:30 here in Council Chambers. That's our 2026 organization meeting. We will be swearing in our newly elected officials, recognizing retiring council members and board members, and announcing our new volunteer appointments for city boards and commissions. I will also deliver my State of the City address, updating you on what we have accomplished in the last year in 2025 and where we're headed in 2026. And before the meeting at 7, there's a welcome reception. We invite all of you to come and join us in the main lobby outside Council Chambers. And if you'd like to attend, please RSVP by December 20th to our city clerk's office at cityclerk@cityofsummit.org or call 908-277-9416. The farmers market is coming to an end. It's been a great season for the farmers market, but this weekend marks the end of the season. And if you want to stock up on food for the holidays, maybe unique gifts, head on over to DeForest and Woodland from 8 to 1 on Sunday, December 21st. And the market will be back in the spring. And I want to wish everyone a happy holiday season, happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. I hope you make beautiful memories with loved ones. And if you're in Summit, wonderful. Hopefully I'll see you around town. If you're traveling, I hope you have safe and happy travels. And it's really been an honor to serve you as the mayor in 2025. And I look forward to continuing our work together in 2026. Thank you.
Awesome. Great report. Thank you, Madam Mayor. All right, at this time, do we have a city administrator report? Ms. Baldwin.
We do. Thank you, Council President. Free parking downtown to encourage residents and visitors to support our local businesses this shopping season. Our parking service agency and Summit Downtown Inc. have teamed up to provide free downtown parking through December 31st. This applies only to 90-minute on-street spaces, the Bank Street lot, and the ground level of the tier garage for up to 2 hours. The time limits will be strictly enforced. We need to let everybody have a chance to park and shop downtown. In addition, city office closures for Christmas and New Year's holidays. We do have a lot of upcoming schedule changes and closures due to Christmas and New Year's holidays. City offices will be closed on December 25th and 26th, and January 1st and January 2nd. Those days are all parking holidays as well. The transfer station will be closed on December 25th and January 1st. The community center will be closed December 25th to 28th and January 1st to the 4th. There is also a modified recycling schedule for the holidays. There's no collection on Christmas Day and New Year's Day. And the Thursday route for both of these weeks will be picked up Friday, and the Friday route will be picked up on Saturday. This was a lot of information, so all of these details are available on the city website for you to look at in more detail. And I'd also like to wish everyone a very happy and healthy holiday season to everyone who lives, works, plays, and visits Summit. Thank you very much, Council President.
Thank you very much. All right, for my Council President report, just a quick update on where we stand with our round 4 negotiations. People who have been tuning in, there's been an ongoing process that the city has found itself in really this entire year. So that's been a lot of fun. But we are getting close to the finish line here. I think our our solicitor, who helps us with affordable housing, I think she characterized it that we are on the 5-yard line. Hopefully we'll punch the ball through and get there. From a timeline perspective, we do need to have this all wrapped up by the end of the year. And then there will be a process to actually implement all the agreements that we will put in place with the different challengers to our round 4 plan. That will take place in the first quarter of next year. So, Councilwoman Toth, good luck with that. But we're really, really excited. Everyone up here has worked super, super hard. From Ms. Baldwin, our professionals have really gone above and beyond. We've had a Mount Laurel committee that literally meets once a week, spends hours and hours on this every week. So there's a lot going behind the scenes. And again, very happy that we are continuing to move forward with this, and really can't talk a lot about what's in these potential agreements because they're not finalized yet. But we're very, very confident that between now and New Year's, we'll have something. And in fact, there's something on the agenda this meeting to authorize the mayor to sign off on that between now and the end of the year. So that's really, really good news. Then the only other thing I'd like just to mention, we are in a season, the holiday season. And the holiday season is a time of love, of good cheer, where we're supposed to, cherish family and friends. Sadly, though, if you look at the news over the last couple of days, it hasn't been that way. And, my side job, beside being up here, is I'm a teacher, and I teach history. And I think there's a lot of people out there who just kind of assume that, the march of time and history, things just get better. And the reality is that's not the way it really works. It gets better if people care, and they don't get complacent, and they push for better things. And sadly, what we've seen over the last really couple of years, everywhere is a real rise in anti-Semitism. We just had Hanukkah kick off. We had a menorah lighting the other day. I know there's one tonight at one of the temples. This is a joyous time for our Jewish friends and neighbors. Yet there's this pall that has been growing. I don't think there's any doubt that it's gotten worse over the last several years. That's really disturbing. And when people see it, we need to say that that's not acceptable. We just had this horrible event in Australia that highlights that. But you just have to turn on the news or look at social media, and it's coming from all directions. You have, campus stuff going on that's justifying this oppressor versus oppressed ideology that seems to, in way, shape, or form, kind of countenance some of this attitude. You have right-wing influencers on social media who seem to glorify, Nazi past and stuff. It's insane. But we have to call this out for what it is. It's hate. And if we don't, we're going to slide backwards. And it's really, really sad. So, in our community, I know there are signs and stuff that we see sometimes that says hate has no home. And I think that's, I used to say it kind of goes without saying, why do we have to put those signs up? But I do think it's a good reminder that we do have to say that when we see things like that, it is never acceptable around any of that. And we should call it for what it is. And like I said, both extremes promote this type of thing. And it just is something that saddens me. But when we see it, we should say no to it. There is nothing that, to treat people in any way, shape, or form except for what their character is. And saying that, I had an email exchange. I know I talked about, political violence and excusing it because of rhetoric when Charlie Kirk was assassinated. We just had a very sad incident in Los Angeles with Rob Reiner. And sadly, it seems like, this is another situation where, an epidemic that people don't really seem to want to grapple with, which is mental health and addiction, that might be somewhat due to this. But, we've had, sadly, like the leader of our country has started to politicize this and make some statement that, tries to, in some way, shape, or form, I don't want to say justifies, maybe too strong a word, but talk about, rationalizing someone's death. That's just wrong. It's just sad when the tragedies happen like this, and no one should look to politicize any of that. And whether you're on the left or the right, and we're better than that, and we should be better than that. And I just know people in our community do look at each other as friends and neighbors. And sometimes in political seasons it can get heated, but we're in the holidays. And we should put that aside and turn to our friends and neighbors and cherish them and celebrate that we are one community and are friends like that. So that's all I wanted to say. So I'm going to end that with a happy holidays to all as we approach this season. Okay, here we go. We've got something really cool this evening, which is a ceremonial award. Our esteemed mayor is going to present the Volunteer of the Year Award to Ms. Donna Goggin Patel.
Hi, Donna. So I think probably many of you know Donna, but if you is this working? Oh, this. But if you don't, you should get to know her because she is one of our probably hardest working volunteers in Summit. She is the chair of the Environmental Commission and has literally donated, I don't even know how many hours, but I know that when I first was elected, we sat down and talked, and you told me about something you were doing. It wasn't the ERI, but you had spent hours and hours and hours, and it was all volunteer. It was all just incredible, institutional knowledge that you've gathered over the years that you've worked on the Environmental Commission. So we're as a community, we are indebted to you for all of the work and all of the time that you've spent. I know you love it. And the Tiny Forest is also I know that Mimi has been an integral part of that, but Donna has been, driving that as well. And there's too many things to list that the Environmental Commission has done under Donna's guidance. So I felt that this was a fitting opportunity to honor Donna for all of the hard work and dedication to our community. So I have a certificate that says, City of Summit 2026 Volunteer of the Year awarded to Donna Gagan Patel in recognition of your exceptional contributions as a dedicated community leader. We commend your unwavering devotion to the City of Summit through the Environmental Commission, leading sustainability and the many green initiatives that benefit the community. We are grateful for the countless hours you've dedicated and for being a true embodiment of volunteerism and service. And that's for you. And and inside this box, there's a really beautiful picture. So that is for you to take with you. Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor Fagan, for this honor. It's my privilege to serve on the Environmental Commission. I feel fortunate to live in a community that focuses on sustainability and the environment to the extent that Summit has for decades now. The two women who recruited me to the Environmental Commission, Marion Glenn and Beth Lovejoy, set a very high bar for service with their dedication and innovation. The amazing city staff, several of whom are here tonight, consistently help us to accomplish and promote our projects. Both Mayor Fagan and Mayor Nora Radis before her strongly support our work, and all the Common Council members approve grant applications and volunteer at our Earth Day cleanups. A special shout out to my council liaisons over the years who help with everything behind the scenes, David Naidu, Marjorie Fox, Jamie Levine, Kevin Smallwood, and Michelle Kalmanson. Of course, none of this would be possible without the amazing volunteer members who serve on the Environmental Commission and lead many of the projects. Since I've been chair, those people are Rick Bell, Helen Campagna, Francie Cho, Dan Crisafulli, Ryan Felmet, Rich Fiore, Paul Formicelli, Jeff Hankinson, John Kilby, Laura Mendenhall, Kelly Mukalian, Chris Sprague, Melissa Spur, and Mimi Zukoff. Special thanks to my husband Henrik and our children, Hunter and Laurel, who allow me to spend the time that I do as an environmental volunteer. If you're interested in learning more, we always welcome guests at our meetings, and we would love to have you join us. And please save the date for the next Earth Day cleanup on April 18th. This weekend on Saturday at 9 a.m., you can join the Summit Conservancy at the Tiny Forest to watch installation of a new bird nest, or grab up to 3 free packets of seeds from the library's seed catalog and add a native plant to your garden or windowsill. Thank you.
That was great and truly inspiring. Thank you again, and congratulations. Okay, we're moving along now to our historical minute. Councilman Pulowski, do we have a historical minute this evening?
We do. We had scheduled Andrew and Katie Smallwood to come in, but due to unavoidable conflicts, they weren't able to make it, but they still worked hard on their presentation, which their dad will read in a minute. Andrew is 17 years old. He's a senior at Summit High. He plays football and lacrosse, and he'll be heading off to Lynchburg to play lacrosse in the fall. Katie's 15. She's a freshman who swims for the high school team and plays flag football.
Thank you. Fortunately, our high school football team had a tremendous season this year and went into the playoffs a little bit longer than not a little bit longer than they would have liked, but unfortunately ended sooner than they would have liked. And it pushed back their football banquet to tonight. So they're having a wonderful dinner at the Kennebec Country Club while we are here. So I said, do you want to come do the historical minute, or do you want to go have dinner at the Canuba Country Club? And obviously, we know what that decision was. So,
We'll get them back in next year.
so they did some research on Summit High School. Summit High School's story mirrors the growth of our city and its deep commitment to public education. The school was founded in 1888, originally housed near the town center. As the community grew, so did the expanded facilities. That growth led to major milestones in 1923 when a new high school was built on Morris Avenue. The building many of us know today as Lawton C. Johnson Summit Middle School. At the helm was Principal Albert J. Bartholomew, whose leadership helped shape generations of students and set enduring standards for academic excellence and character. His legacy still lives on today through the Albert J. Bartholomew Scholarship, awarded each year by the Summit Foundation to a graduating senior Summit senior, an ongoing reminder that the impact of great educators extends far beyond their time in the classroom. Just another act of generosity supporting the next generation of Hilltoppers. And speaking of lasting impact, Summit High School also holds a unique place in American music history. In 1965, a little-known band called the Velvet Underground played their first paid concert at the high school's auditorium, which goes to show you never quite know what kind of future is being shaped within those walls. So, Councilman Boyer, there is hope for Evan and his band Lorraine. In 1957, the high school moved to its current location on Kent Place Boulevard, where it continues to educate, inspire, and anchor our community. For more than a century, Summit High School has been more than a building. It has been a launch pad for leaders, for scholars, for athletes, and yes, occasionally for rock legends. That legacy lives on today in every Hilltopper who walks in those halls.
All right. Was really good. Awesome. All right, that was great. Now, we're getting into the meat of our meeting this evening, when we're going to have a couple of ordinances for hearing. We have two from Law and Labor and one from Safety and Health. Madam Clerk, at this time, will you please read Law and Labor Ordinance 25-3363?
An ordinance amending the code, Chapter 12, Parks, Public Areas, Recreational Facilities, to add a new section, 12-7, Tatlock Sports Complex Athletic Facilities.
Thank you so much. Councilman Pulowski.
Thank you. This is ordinance number 25-3363. We've talked about lights at Tatlock for nearly, if not over a decade at this point, and really going all the way back to the early 2000s when we first put turf in. Council has had numerous meetings, council members have had numerous meetings with our residents, including those in the Tatlock neighborhood, the local sports clubs, supporters, and opponents of field lights. We've done our due diligence. The primary purpose of lights is to provide safe field space for our youth. Just to give you an example, when I grew up here, I guess this would have been in the late 80s, early 90s, we had 5 youth lacrosse teams in town. There was a 7th and 8th grade boys team, 7th and 8th grade girls team, and a 4th, 5th, and 6th grade boys team. Now we have 2 or 3 teams per grade for both sexes, starting in 1st grade and going through 8th. So field space is at a premium. We've also seen in the fall football practices go into dark. We do have some lights up there right now, but they're very inadequate. And with the lights that we'll be getting soon, they'll have a safer place to practice. We also have parent coaches who are really the lifeblood of our youth sports programs who work. So they have to have their practices scheduled in the evening in order to be able to donate that time for the betterment of our children. This lights will also provide an opportunity for our high school field sports teams, both girls and boys, to play under the lights. This ordinance sets the parameters for usage. Some of the highlights are that practices are to end by 9 when scheduled. Games are to be scheduled to end by 9. And there'll be no more than 10 regular season varsity contests under the lights per school year. That last highlight has been the most contentious, at least lately, and I get it. The Tatlock neighborhood is a challenge during big events. But I'll remind everybody that not all varsity games are big events. Football and certain lacrosse games may draw a big crowd, but not every varsity night game will. I also remind everybody that this council is setting these parameters here tonight. And the next council could change them. Kevin Smallwood and I, Councilman Smallwood and I, DCP, the council as a whole, plenty of input from the mayor. We've done our very best to balance the needs of our youth with the concerns of the neighborhood. But we are faced with a series of unknowns here. So I urge our youth sports players, parents, coaches to be respectful. Follow the rules, don't speed, clean up after yourselves, and I urge the same of our high school fans. Even though 80% of municipalities in New Jersey have field lights, they are not a God-given right, and they are not an entitlement. They are a privilege bestowed upon us by some very generous donors and made possible by a council that takes its job as stewards of our Hill City very seriously. And that includes every Hill citizen. So with that, I move to adopt and open the hearing on this long-awaited ordinance.
I second.
Okay, I'm going to declare the hearing open for this ordinance. At this time, would any member of the public like to come and comment on this ordinance? Okay, all right, I'm going to close the hearing, the public portion of the hearing. Would any member of council like to comment on this ordinance?
Yeah.
Councilwoman Toth.
Okay, thank you, Council President. Recognizing that this ordinance is flawed, I'm going to vote to enact it. The ordinance allows, as Councilmember Pulowski said, for up to 10 high school night games a year, plus night youth football games. And that's way too many to start with. My understanding is the schools aren't looking to hold them. We haven't had Friday night lights for several years, and that was not because of the lights. There are many unresolved safety issues with day games that need to be addressed before the city can consider night games. And to any move to including night games should be incremental, much as teenagers start with probationary driver's licenses before they get the full driver's license. So I'm confident that the ordinance will be amended to so provide going forward.
Thank you. Other comments from council? Councilman Pulowski.
Yeah, so just in response to Councilwoman Toth, you say it's way too many games to start with, but the high school has no intention of using those games. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. Also, if the, if the lights are up in time for the spring, there's going to be a maximum of 3 games probably, and we're going to get a good idea of how things go, what we can improve, or if everything is great. There's another resolution coming up about Tatlock in this meeting. Over the course of our discussions, there were a lot of other things that we would have, if we were able to do just an all-encompassing Tatlock ordinance, we would have put it in about post-mortem meetings, about reports, about post-installation studies. We just couldn't put that all in this ordinance, which really focuses on light parameters. But we are going to be putting something like that in by resolution, so that we'll memorialize these things that we have agreed to do. And one of them is that after this spring, Council's going to take a real close look at this ordinance and the number of games that we have permitted to allow, or that we're going to permit the high school to schedule, and see if it needs to be revised in any way based on those outcomes. So to say that you want to immediately make changes to it and do some kind of a probationary period, I have confidence in our public, our residents, our neighbors, and our Board of Ed and Athletic Department that everybody is going to be working really hard to make these events go as smoothly as possible and to project into the future that bad things are going to happen, when again, these are a series of unknowns. I just don't know why you would do it. But you know, if you want to propose that to the next council, you will be the council president, and so there's nothing we can do to stop you. But you know, I would also ask, did you talk to the high school? Talk to anybody at the high school about whether they want to have these games? I mean, I've had meetings with the athletic director about it. I've had meetings with Scott Huff about it. They seem pretty excited, and as do all of our youth sports programs. So I'm not sure where you're getting your information from. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I heard something different straight from the horse's mouth. So maybe you could talk to them before you try to, you know, change this ordinance too much.
Thank you. Other comments from council?
Council President,
Councilman Boyer.
what I do really like about this ordinance is that it establishes the installation of security cameras. I think that when the lights are on late, people are walking or using the track, or kids are playing on the track, having security cameras there, I think it really fits into the overall security posture of the future of the town as well. So that's a really good inclusion. I'm just happy that the lights are there. I know that the details about when the lights are going to be off and on and how many games, frankly, that's going to change over the years, right? I don't think that we can predict the future, and Councilman Pulaski tried his best. Thank you, Councilman, to see into the future, to see all the problems that may occur. But we just don't know. But the next council, the next councils, they'll pivot, they'll make it, they'll adjust it, they'll talk to the parents and the athletic directors and the police, right? Like, things are gonna happen. But I'm so glad that the lights are here. I think it's gonna be a great event for the city, for all of us to come together and watch the different sports in that field. It's gonna be excellent. And we'll figure out the other things. So I am very in support of this ordinance, and thank you for all your hard work on this, Councilman. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Other comments? Councilwoman Hamlet?
I'd just like to say thank you, Councilmember Toth. At least you're being honest about what you will be changing in 2026. I, however, am very, very proud of this Herculean effort that the community has come around, and I'm glad that in 15 or 16 or 17 days, when I'm no longer on council, this will be our legacy. And when you see the young children practicing in the dark, it is very, very scary. Kids are going up trying to catch a ball, bumping heads with another kid. It's absolutely dark. We're one of the very few towns that does not have lights. And if you've spent any time there, you'll see that. And not all of the kids in Summit go to a country club, right? They just don't. There's kids from, Mr. Vito Gallo, all the Weaver, Glenwood. These kids, it is so important. They're off their phones. They're outside. When you go there, you get really passionate about it. And as I said a few months ago, we're going to do the right thing. And this is just a start. I urge you, the new council, to just work with the community and come up with some reasonable expectations. Work with the athletic directors. There's so many simple things that we're not doing right now. I keep saying, hand the bus drivers a card, a big yellow card that says you can't go this way. Have everybody sign off on it. Just stick with the basics, but let these kids play. It's good for their mental health. It's good for the community, and I'm glad it's our legacy.
Thank you. Other comments from council? Councilman Smallwood.
Thank you, Council President. You know, for one of the first things that you say in your comment is that you're going to repeal this or change this as soon as this is done in January. You know, you're going to have a lot of other things to do next year. There's a lot of work that goes into being on council, and for you to comment that one of the first things that you're going to do is just simply repeal and replace what we're currently doing now, is I just don't understand it, especially when we're talking about children. You know, this has been a discussion since long before 2018, when the Department of Community Programs came and presented to council. There's been a need for this for a long time. This wasn't just thrown together. There have been meetings after meetings after meetings. And whether the neighborhood wants to believe me or not, in 2004, we set to have community meetings with just the Tatlock residents to find out what their concerns were. And we had 5 separate meetings, the Department of Community Programs. What are your concerns? Is it the lights? Is it safety? Is it crowd? Is it traffic? Is it parking? And we came up with those, that we have example after example after example what those concerns are. And that's something that we have been trying to address. We created the Tatlock Task Force just solely of Tatlock neighbors. I don't know of any other neighborhood that has their own task force. We have done everything that we possibly can in a transparent way to satisfy the need for our children to get out and be able to play. This is for our youth sports. And we've also done it, and I believe in a very compassionate way, with the neighborhood. Like me or not, I did nothing but try to be transparent. We have over 50 pages of notes on the Department of Community Programs that David and Mark put together. We were criticized for having 3 studies done, the environmental study, the traffic study, and the lighting study. I believe in 2019, it was either 2019 or 2020, when the council approved $50,000 for a lighting study. That's taxpayer dollars. We got criticized for inviting the entire neighborhood, or I'm sorry, the entire community, and not just having 3 separate meetings with the Tatlock neighbors. We felt compelled to invite the entire community because we were using their taxpayer dollars for these studies. Councilwoman Kalmanson put together a list of items, and we read through those items when we were putting together and discussing this ordinance. Their recommendation was 8:30 to turn off the lights. Our hopeful recommendation was 9:30. So we compromised, and we came to 9 o'clock. 90% of our youth athletes, youth programs, are parent coached. The use of these lights are going to be from September to December, and then from March to June. That's when we have daylight savings and we have less light. Parents are coming in from the city, rushing home, grabbing a bite to eat, grabbing their kids, and heading off to the field. We did not, with the intention, put these lights in place for high school. Are they going to benefit from it? Yes, I hope so. The reason why they stopped doing Friday night lights is not because of the lights. It's because, from a safety standpoint, of the lights being on the temporary lights being on the field. We used to be able to put them on the track. And then I believe it, Mark, is it 21? Or 20 or 21 that we resurfaced the track? And then we couldn't, because they were diesel-generated temporary lights, we couldn't put them on the new track because it would have melted the track. And we just put it in place. So the last time that we had Friday night lights, we put them on the field. There were athletes who were getting sick because of the diesel fuels. And then Coach Cospa said, listen, I'm not going to do this anymore because they're too close to the field. I don't want a kid being pushed off the field and into the lights. It's too dangerous. It's not because they didn't want lights, Friday night lights. It's because of a safety issue. We couldn't put them on the track anymore. Putting them on the field, the temporary lights on the field, was too close to the athletes. Our only option now is for permanent lights, and we got that. Now that we have them, we have compromised with the neighborhood, and we are going to continue, and I hope the new council will continue to work with the neighborhood. But over the last 2 years, we have listened, we have compromised, and we have tried to find the right balance to create an opportunity for our children to get off their screens, off their couches, off their video games, and give them an opportunity to play sports. At 5 o'clock, beginning in October sometime, it gets dark. We have 3 poles on the upper Tatlock lights. It lights up a quarter of the field. You get 6th graders on one end, 7th graders in the middle, 8th graders on the most lit portion. And it is getting dangerous. I'm sorry, we have youth sports, kids want to play. We're getting more and more youth out to get into, we have more and more children signing up for youth programs, whether it's flag football, boys and girls, youth football, lacrosse. We're not going to deny them. I'd much rather have them out playing a sport, learning how to be a teammate, learning discipline, than being on their couches, on their video games, and on their phones. You have more important things to do than to repeal what we're trying to put in place. Give it a year. Give it a chance. See how it works out. Adjust. You know, the resolution that Bob mentioned earlier talks about how you should, at least, going forward, review and see how it goes. You can make adjustments, but it shouldn't be the first thing that you've got to do. There are so much more important things that you need to do than to repeal and replace what we're putting in place tonight, hopefully.
Thank you.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Smallwood. Other comments from council? Councilman Pulowski?
Yeah, just a couple other things. First of all, thank you, Kevin, for all your hard work on this. He did as much as I did, if not more. Second, going back to this number of 10 varsity contests. When we had our town hall, we proposed a range of 8 to 14. Now, why did we do that? There are 7 field sports at our high school. Boys football, girls flag football, boys lacrosse, field hockey, boys soccer, and girls soccer. And we felt that at a minimum, we'd have to give each of them 1. That would be 7. And, you know, maybe that's where we should have started. But, you know, we went with 10 because it was somewhere in between, and we left it at the discretion of the school to make that decision. How can we, and this was one of the questions that I got from the public too, who's going to be able to use these? What about the girls? What about other sports? This can't just be for boys football. When we contemplated 8, boys football had an extra game. Why is that? It was so that, it was because that's really the one sport that actually makes some money, brings in some money for the band, brings in some money for the Board of Ed and their athletic programs. But, to be equitable, we set the number where we did. So that's all I had to add.
Great, thank you. Other comments from council?
Dare I say anything?
Madam Mayor, come on, it's the last meeting of the year.
I know,
Get in
I know.
there.
I was going to bite my tongue. I just want to say that I agree with the sentiment Councilman Smallwood suggested, that let it play out, give it a test drive. There's no way that, assuming that the lights go in on schedule, that the high school could even have 10 games in 2026. So my advice would be, I think that this is a really nice compromise. I think that there's a lot in here that has valuable input from the residents, from the neighborhood. I think that a lot of that has been considered, and I think that the right thing to do is to allow this to play out for a year and then revisit it. If you really feel that strongly about changing it, I would at least give it a year. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Other comments from council? Yeah, I'll just wrap up and say, one, I want to thank Councilman Pulowski and Councilman Smallwood for all their hard work around this. It has been real Herculean effort to get this all set up with incredible amount of community input to make this happen. I just will comment, even the ordinance as it is has incorporated stuff from the last public meeting that we had a couple of weeks ago. I see happily that Mr. Bassman's suggestion about speakers is in here, which I thought was great. And the council listened and incorporated that. And I would say the process every step of the way has been to ask for input, get it, work with people, compromise, and end up with, I think, a really, really good final product. Look, I don't know whether the high school is going to use 10 games or not. The girls can play under the lights already. A lot of them do. They have that opportunity because a couple of the sports play at the upper high school field. It could be cool for them to play with bleachers and all that kind of stuff. So who knows whether they'll do it. But it is a really neat opportunity for them. But I would say, look, just going forward, let's assume that people are of good intent and that they're going to use the facility properly and that they will be respectful of their neighbors. That's what we should assume. Let's not assume it's going to go off the rail, it's going to be a disaster. Let's assume it's going to be good. People want to use this, it's for our kids. And I would say if there is going to be changes made, don't be arbitrary about it. Talk to people. Have more input. How's it working? Can we make changes? Have some more town hall meetings to make this happen. Don't presuppose the outcome without talking to people. That was the problem with the last council. That's how we ended up with the monstrosity proposal on Broad Street West. Listen and see what they have to say. See how it works out. That's good governance. And again, if you want to change it after all that, go ahead and change it. That's your prerogative. But don't presuppose the outcome and see how it works. And that's my comment. All right, any other comments? All right, with that, I'm going to close the hearing on this ordinance. We're going to move on to the second law and labor ordinance for hearing. Madam Clerk, will you please read ordinance number 25-3364?
An ordinance to repeal and replace Chapter 2 Administration, Article 2, Meetings of Common Council, Section 2-2, Council Meetings, Subsection 2-2.1, Rules of the Common Council.
Thank you so much. Councilman Pulowski.
Thank you. This is ordinance 253364. When we introduced this, I gave a pretty good explanation. Our council rules are a part of the city code, but we also tweak them from year to year. And the current ordinance in the city code provides that if there's a resolution making one of those minor changes, that will be applicable and it's incorporated into the ordinance. But the ordinance hasn't been updated on E-Code 360, I think it's called, right? For a while, and that's because we've only been making amendments by resolution. So this is really going to codify the current state of our council rules, this ordinance will, and there are basically two substantive changes. The first one is to codify the council's longstanding practice of not allowing council comments after the introduction of an ordinance, and that's at section 8, paragraph I, and memorializing or removing the limitation on public comments to be for items only that are not on the agenda, and that can be found in section 8M. As to the latter, the way it currently is set up, if something's on the agenda, you need to come and speak about it when it's on the agenda, and you're not supposed to mention it towards the end, but the public comment at the end from here on out is going to be whatever it is that anybody wants to talk about. So with that, I move to open the hearing and adopt this ordinance.
I second.
All right, I'm going to declare the hearing open. At this time, would anyone from the public wish to comment on this ordinance?
Good evening. I'm Diego Hoik, 9 Argyle Court. So a couple of weeks ago, my son addressed this council, and Council President McTernan, you were kind enough to let him speak relatively earlier on in the meeting. And in thinking about that particular moment, I think we have an opportunity. I understand why the public comment meetings for adults are placed at the end of the council meeting, and I think that that's probably for the better on balance. I would, however, wish to suggest that should a person who is a student in one of our schools, doesn't have to be the public schools, it could be a private school student as well, should they wish to address the council, that they be afforded the ability to address it early on in the meeting so that they can go home and get what they need, which is a good night's sleep. So may I submit that for your consideration? Thank you.
Thank you. Great comment, Diego. Other comments from the public? No? Okay, I'm going to declare the public portion of the hearing closed. Would anyone from council like to comment on this ordinance?
Council President?
Councilman Boyer.
I would have to agree with Mr. Hoek, but I'd take it a step further. I think there are times where there are a lot of people that come to council meetings that are not Summit residents. There have been several meetings where we had people upstairs and out in the atrium as well as in here, and the residents in town did not get to speak. Now, I don't know how we would be able to do that. I don't know if that's a violation of the law. I would submit that to Law and Labor, but if somehow we could make public comments more available for our residents, I would really appreciate that. So not just the children, there are other residents that come out that have that need to get home to their children because there's no one there that can watch them. Maybe it's a family friend next door or something like that. But there's something important that they need to come out and want to express themselves. And it's not right for them to sit here until 3 o'clock in the morning just to say 3 sentences. I mean, that's fair, that the people that pay taxes and live in this community get to speak first. Now, everybody gets a right to say what they want to say. It's an open public meeting. But the people that live here should take precedence over everyone else. And that's just my opinion. You know, maybe wrong, but that's just how I feel. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Boyer. Other comments from council? Councilman Smallwood.
I would also, like to make a recommendation that since after this meeting I'll no longer be here, I would like to recommend that council comments or public comments be given at least 10 minutes instead of 3. But I would certainly, even being on council, I would probably, even recommend, and I talked to Councilman Pulowski about this, even increasing it to 4 minutes. I know we've had some people that are asking, 5 minutes, but I think 4 minutes is a good number if you have to put something behind it. 3 minutes. There's a lot people need. There's a lot of things that people need to say, and when you're trying to rush through 3 minutes, and you've been very kind with most people and asking them to just wrap it up once they hit the 3-minute mark, but. I think going forward, it's something to consider, extending the, time limit for public comments.
Thank you for your comments. Other comments? Councilwoman Hamlet.
Yeah, you're probably all going to disagree with me here, but I think comments during introductions are really important. Maybe not every introduction. There's actually one on here tonight, and I'm going to give you all an example of why I think, and I know you're not going to agree with me, Council President, of why introduction comments are important. So if you look at ordinance for hearing, it's with the parking. We're all busy. We have full-time jobs. I think collectively we probably all have 15 kids up here together. And the amount of times we're on the phone every day, I can't possibly call all of these council members one by one, and Claire will have the same situation. But had I had the opportunity to talk about this parking introduction at the time and just said, hey, I know you're introducing this, I didn't get to it this week, but it's actually not right? The parking spaces are wrong, so, take a closer look at it, or maybe the intent, maybe it's a Scribner's error, but I do like commenting during introduction. The other thing is a lot of these introductions are very technical, so it gives a council member an opportunity to just say, let me just explain why we're doing this. Because when we pull out of this space, there's a car here and there's a car there, and every day somebody's going to get hit. And so I find value in introduction. Thank goodness we don't do it often, but I really like commenting during an introduction. I think it's a huge disservice to the public to take that away. Bob, you're one of my best friends, and I'm sorry, but it's how I feel.
Thank you. Good comment. Other comments from council? Councilman Pulowski.
So I don't think we're really taking it away. It's been the longstanding practice of the council not to allow comments on an introduction. We're just making it official now. As far as the length and placement of public comments, folks, I'm the only one up here who wants to put all public comments at the front of the meeting and extend them to 4.5 minutes with a warning at 4 minutes. So you got to work on the rest of the folks up here. And I would put it at the beginning of the meeting, not just so that children can come in, like my friend Diego just mentioned, but there may be folks that just can't stay up that late for any number of reasons, and they lose their ability to do that. I understand that this is a business meeting and that we have to be able to get to the business of the city, and we certainly have had some enthusiastically attended meetings in the past where public comment goes quite a long time. But I feel like having it at the end kind of deters those public comments that everybody ought to be able to make. As far as comments on an introduction, we also still have the ability to do that at the end. Now, I know it's easier for somebody who wants to say, hey, what happened with this introduction? What a deal you have to say about it, to go to that part in the meeting and not have to search for it at the end. But council can always comment on whatever they want at the end, and now so can the public. So I'm going to support this.
Thank you. Other comments from council? All right, I'll just wrap up and say, I think the way the meetings are run now is perfect, so we don't have to change. But just kidding. We can always be better, so I appreciate people looking at this and looking to tweak it. And I look forward to watching the council meetings next year from there. And I can go home when I need to, because I'm one of those people who have a hard time staying up late. But that's it. Any other comments from council? All right, I'm going to declare the hearing closed on this ordinance. We're moving on to our third ordinance for hearing. That's Safety and Health, number 25-3365. Madam Clerk, will you please read this ordinance?
An ordinance amending the code, Chapter 7, Traffic, Section 7-8, Parking, subsection 7-8.7, Parking prohibited at all times on certain streets.
Thank you so much. Councilman Boyer.
Thank you, Council President. This is ordinance number 25-3365. The purpose of this ordinance is to establish no parking zones on several streets where safety, visibility, and traffic flow have been ongoing concerns. These areas include portions of Bedford Road, Morris Avenue, Broad Street, Ashwood Avenue to Park Avenue, and east of New England Ave near Christ Church. And the south side, Chicago, and the south side of Weaver Street from the Summit High School exit to the driveway at 46 Weaver. These adjustments follow recommendations from our police department and our Department of Community Service and are intended to improve pedestrian and driver safety. I move to open this ordinance for a final hearing.
Second.
All right, I'm going to declare this hearing open. Would any member of the public like to comment on this ordinance?
I'm Louis Blanco, 30 Beekman Terrace. I'm also on the executive board of Christ Church. And before I begin, Mr. President, I would like to thank you for your remarks at the beginning of this meeting. They were very timely and poignant, not only for this time of year, but for all times. My concern, and I just became aware of this afternoon, I understand that this ordinance would prohibit parking between the Christ Church driveway and the driveway next to it at 59 New England Avenue. And that's a space of about 30 feet. And it would also eliminate a parking space on both sides of each driveway. So essentially, there would be 3 parking spaces that would be eliminated. Christ Church is a very busy church. We're not only a church, we're a school. We host several AA meetings every day, and we support and host other community organizations, blood drives, meetings, and parking is very important to us. For the past several months, parking has been restricted on the west side of New England Avenue, where historically it has been allowed on Sundays. It's been Sundays only, but we can no longer park there. We have a lot of elderly in our church community, and elderly people and disabled people coming to the AA meetings. And I guess my concern is, especially with regard to the driveways, typically you don't see in town where there is a no parking zone the size of a parking space on either side of a driveway. So I would like this to be reconsidered. I use these areas. I don't feel as a driver that the hazard is any greater exiting or entering our parking lot than it is any other parking lot in the city. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Other comments from the public? All right, I'm going to close the public section of this hearing and open it up to council members. Any council member wish to comment? Councilwoman Hamlet?
Well, I just want to say thank you for your comments, sir. A couple of clarifications I wanted to make. So on the area that has been restricted on Sundays, I believe it's just no parking in general, whether or not they were letting that slide on Sundays. But I do agree with you. I think that's a reasonable request to be able to park on the other side on Sundays. I also think it's reasonable for you to request that the space, potentially, I haven't been inside that parking lot, the space that's on your side could be opened up. I just don't know what the parking rules are, Director Schrager. I think that's reasonable. I will tell you that I live with 12 other, it's 8 units on 59 New England. And literally, when we have our kids in the morning taking them to school, your cars are 6 inches and 6 inches here. And every morning, there's almost an accident. And there are so many complaints from the neighborhood. So I think it's truly 2 spots. I don't necessarily know if it would need to be 3, but again, I don't know what the rules are for parking, but I think the 2 reasonable requests would be if you're not having site issues at your exit of Christ Church. I think that we could be amenable to that. I would say that I'm not familiar too much with the Bedford. I think we cleaned that one up, that area. So I think that's reasonable, but all of the community members that live around 59 New England, we literally can't see anything. And anybody who lives on New England knows that when cars are parked on both sides, it's very hard for 2 lanes of traffic to get through, but we live with it. It's just what we have to do. So I think it's really just 2 spaces, and it's just because that area is so congested. So Director Schrager, I'm not sure if you can opine on his concerns around, how many feet. I don't know how big it's pretty tiny, though. I'd have to get my tape measure out.
Yeah, just through you, Council President, I mean, we could work with safety and just limit the number of spaces. I don't have the dimensions with me and stuff, but I mean, if it's parallel parking on the street, typically you want like 24 feet. But we could take a look as, when the ordinance is passed, if we could stripe it or just work with the neighborhood to make it maximum safety and maximum parking. So.
Thank
I
you.
think even if it was 5 feet, I don't think you need to take away an entire parking space. Even if they had 5 or 6 feet on that far end, that one spot though is almost impossible to see because you have cars coming this way. I'm happy to bring you over and show you our challenges over there, but I think we can work with those concerns.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, Councilman Boyer?
and if you move down the other way, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
So, Council President, and to the public, what we're seeing more and more about parking close to driveways is that cars are bigger and people can't see. If you got an Expedition, I think there's only one person in town that's got an Expedition. But or Excursion, my bad. But you have your Infinity trucks, you got your Cadillac trucks, you got your GMC Yukons, you got your Suburbans. I think that comprises of about 60-70% of the cars in town. And it's not just Christchurch, it's really all over town. And the visibility on both of those driveways, if someone is parking whether to the right of the driveway or the left of the driveway, and even by Delia's house, that's a busy street too, because the opposite side, there's apartment complexes there where there's a bunch of cars there. In the mornings is really bad because that's a cut through to get to the high school. Every once in a while, I drop my kid off. So it is a problem. It is a problem. And Director Schrager, if even if you striped it and people park outside of the striped area, you would still need an ordinance to prevent that, right? Like, so either way, you have to make an ordinance to prevent the parking there, right? And so we're talking about one space or two spaces now, one more. You know, I personally think it's needed. But I will say, and thank you for bringing this up, because I didn't know that there were parking restrictions on Sunday. Sunday is church day, and I feel you on that. I will work. Let's see if we can do something about that. I can appreciate that. So I go to church a little bit down the street from you at Pilgrim, and you can't really park on the street that often. But anyway, let's work together. I'm on parking next year, so it just kind of works out. So we'll work that out, maybe sooner than later. All right. As for the other ones, they're all appropriate, especially the one on Weaver Street. I mean, coming out of that lot, the far right lot next to where the field is atrocious. And then if you're making a left, you got people that's coming from the cul-de-sac. That's a blind spot that the kids almost get hit there every day. So I think this is a good ordinance, and I support it. But again, we can work out the Sunday parking. Hopefully that may alleviate some of your concerns.
Council President.
Councilwoman Hamlet.
The one thing I would leave with you, Councilmember Toth, as I'm looking at Mr. Gallo again, is Euclid is a big concern for the kids who cross at Euclid and Summit Avenue. I've had my tape measure out. I have a big giant one, and I think it's 25 feet, but I'm almost positive it's like a foot short. But regardless, and there's also a huge tree there, so when the kids are crossing at the crossing guard, it's an accident waiting to happen. And I know Director Schrager's going to yell at me for saying that, but if we could eliminate those two spots, I think it would be really important for the community. It's impossible to make a left out of Euclid, especially around 3 o'clock. So I would urge you, Jamal, to put that on your agenda for next year.
Thank you. Other comments? I've closed the comment section. All right. No other comments. I'm going to close the hearing on this ordinance, and we're going to move on to ordinances for final consideration. Madam Clerk, will you please read ordinance, the first one from Law and Labor, 25-3363.
Ordinance amending the code, Chapter 12, Parks, Public Areas, Recreational Facilities, to add a new section, 12-7, Tatlock Sports Complex Athletic Facilities.
Thank you so much. Councilman Pulowski.
Thank you. This is ordinance number 25-3363. Ordinance amending the code, Chapter 12, Parks, Public Areas, Recreational Facilities, to add a new section 12-7, Tatlock Sports Complex Athletic Facilities, and establish a Tatlock field lighting policy. Having just completed the hearing on this ordinance, I move to adopt it.
I second.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Boyer?
Aye.
Ms. Hamlet?
Aye.
Ms. Commonson?
Nay.
Mr. Pulaski?
Aye.
Mr. Smallwood?
Yes.
Ms. Toth?
Aye.
President McTiernan?
Aye. Motion carries. Okay, we're moving on to the second Law and Labor ordinance. Madam Clerk, will you please read number 25-3364?
An ordinance to repeal and replace Chapter 2 Administration, Article 2 Meetings of Common Council, Section 2-2 Council Meetings, subsection 2-2.1 Rules of the Common Council.
Thank you so much. Councilman Pulowski.
Thank you. This is ordinance 25-3364. Having just had the hearing on this ordinance, I move to adopt it.
Second.
All right, roll call, please.
Mr. Boyer?
Aye.
Ms. Hamlet?
Aye.
Ms. Commonson?
Aye.
Mr. Pulaski?
Aye.
Mr. Smallwood?
Aye.
Ms. Toth?
Aye.
President McTiernan?
Aye. Motion carries. All right, last ordinance for adoption. Madam Clerk, will you please read Safety and Health, number 25-3365?
An ordinance amending the code, Chapter 7, Traffic, Section 7-8, Parking, subsection 7-8.7, Parking prohibited at all times on certain streets.
Thank you so much. Councilman Boyer.
Thank you, Council President. Having just had a hearing on ordinance number 25-3365, 65, I move this for a final adoption.
Second.
All right, roll call, please.
Mr. Boyer?
Aye.
Ms. Hamlet? Aye. Ms. Commonson?
Aye.
Mr. Pulowski?
Aye.
Mr. Smallwood?
Aye.
Ms. Toth?
Aye.
President McTiernan?
Aye. Motion carries. All right. We're moving right along to the resolutions portion of our meeting this evening. We have one from admin this evening. Councilwoman Calmelson.
Thank you, Council President. This is ID number 12318, and this resolution amends the Personnel Policy Manual. The City of Summit completed a comprehensive overhaul of its Personnel Policies and Procedures Manual. The proposed revisions include structural reorganization, policy consolidation, removal of outdated provisions, and updates required by law, risk management authorities, and guidance from the city's labor attorney. The changes aim to modernize the manual, ensure legal compliance, and clarify expectations for both management and staff. Major policy updates include equal employment opportunity, anti-discrimination, and anti-harassment, combined and expanded with updated language, including expectations for conduct outside the workplace when it affects the work environment, whistleblower, SEPA, discipline, grievance, and ethical conduct, strengthened reporting channels, anti-retaliation protections, and standards for employee behavior and accountability, conflict of interest, reintroduced to address outside employment use of city property and gift restrictions, time off policies, clarified vacation carryover rules, updated bereavement leave, and revised jury, military, and domestic violence leave per legal recommendations, workplace and technology policies, added a new AI, LLM use policy, updated privacy expectations, and revised procedures for early closures, attendance, and overtime, benefits and compensation, updated health insurance references to reflect the shift from SHBP to NJ Solutions GIF, managerial procedures, modernized background check requirements, updated nepotism rules, and removed outdated managerial policies. This also included removals and structural changes, including several outdated policies were eliminated. Some older procedures are retired as recommended by the labor attorney. An acknowledgement of receipt page is added to meet GIF requirements. And finally, there is an addendum. It includes the required GIF policies for CDL drivers regarding controlled substances and alcohol testing. I move to adopt this resolution.
Second.
All right, at this time, do I have any members of the public who would wish to comment on this resolution? All right, anyone from council like to comment? Councilwoman Toth.
Okay, thank you, Council President. I know admin has been publicly pretty quiet this year, but they've clearly been doing a boatload of work. And I just want to say congratulations to Council Members Kalmanson and Hamlet for all that hard work updating the manual. And certainly along with Megan Champney, our HR manager, who I'm sure did the lion's share of it.
Thank you, good comments. Other comments from council?
Yeah, Council President?
Yes, Councilman Boyer.
So, this came up before with the nepotism policy and council members. I don't know if y'all know this, but I have about 50 family members in Summit. So if I was on council for 6 years, that would mean that any of my 50 family members would not be able to work for the city of Summit. That's kind of ridiculous. They need jobs, right? Like, if you're good at a job, you should be able to get a job. I think that when you look at immediate family, it should really be your spouse, your children, right? Not like your cousins or any person related by blood or marriage residing in an employee's household. I mean, that could be a lot of people, right? I mean, this is kind of a small town with a lot of family ties. There are like 5 different families, and and the HR director knows this, right? There are like 5 main black families in town, right? And we're all related. You know, this is problematic, right? And I think that for some, it could be looked at as discriminatory. If 3% of the population in Summit are indigenous black Americans, right? And the first black American ever elected to council has 50 members who are black in town, right? And for 6 years, they cannot be employed by the city of Summit. What it should say is that the sitting council person should just have nothing to do with that procedure, right? Like, you can't be involved. You can't submit an application for them. You can't talk about their employment. But to bar them from employment is absolutely ridiculous. It is. This is not New York City. This is not, Newark, New Jersey. This is not, a city with 150,000 people, right? This is a small town. So, I disagree with that policy. And by the way, if we could keep it real, there have been firemen's sons, police officers' sons, it has never been a council person that's hired a family member, as far as I know. What is the focus on council for? What is that about? And I raised this the last time that this came up. My issue with the nepotism policy, quite frankly, would be, hey, if I'm the chief of police, right, you shouldn't be able to hire your son in the police department, right? Or, if I'm the fire chief, right, my son shouldn't be in the fire department while I'm there, right? Those are the issues. Not the council person, that may be elected, where 50 of the people in town are, it's not fair to them. That's not fair. I'm gonna run for council and I have some relatives who want to get a decent job in the city. How is that fair to them? That's not right. You should focus on the city employees and stop the nepotism within the city of Summit. And don't focus on people who are up here volunteering. I'm a volunteer, man. So you're gonna prevent my nephews from seeking employment? Or my wife's nephews and nieces from seeking employment in the city of Summit because I'm volunteering as a council person? That's absolutely ridiculous.
Thank you. Councilman Smallwood.
Thank you, Council President. Councilman Boyd, I 100% agree with you on your first point with regards to not being able to hire a council member's family member. To be honest with you, that's not even part of our process. That whatever position that person is applying for, it's up to that department director as well as our business administrator and our HR person who actually hires that person. It's not the actual city council members. With regards to the nepotism in terms of firemen and police officers, I do have to disagree with you on that. I love hearing the fact that we have or may have a 5th generation fireman or a 5th generation police officer. I think if we discouraged, those family members from following their fathers or their grandfathers, yeah, I think that would be, that would be disheartening to me, because if they're willing to put their lives on the line as a fireman or a police officer and follow in their parents' or grandparents' footsteps, I certainly would encourage that. But I totally agree with you in terms of the policy, in terms of a council member's family members not being able to even be considered or being able to apply for that.
Thank you. Councilwoman Hamlet.
So, I think it's important to clarify the red line version of this for anyone who, and Jamel, I totally agree with you, but in this version, correct me if I'm wrong, Councilmember Camilson, what we did was we changed the nepotism policy. So the last version wrote, a candidate is an immediate relative of the current mayor. Sorry, the last version read, a candidate is an immediate relative of the mayor or anyone who has served as mayor in the last 5 years. The red line version also read, a candidate is an immediate relative of a candidate is an immediate relative of a member of Common Council or anyone who has served on a Common Council in the last 5 years. What we took away in this version was, now it reads, a candidate is an immediate relative of the current mayor. We took away, or anyone who has served as mayor in the last 5 years. Now it reads, now the second paragraph reads, a candidate is an immediate relative of a member of Common Council. We took away, or anyone who has served on Common Council in the last 5 years. And I actually skipped the last admin meeting, and I just read the red line version today, but that's why it's really important to read the red line version. So I hope there's not any misunderstanding, but the nepotism policy has changed for the better to address those concerns.
Council President.
Councilman.
Unless
Boyd.
there's something wrong in the packet.
Well,
Am I right?
I think, City Administrator.
Oh, is the red line
Baldwin?
version not in there?
No, it's not. Would
Oh.
you like to
Well, that
clarify?
might explain things.
Yes, through you, Council President. There is, and I think that we all recall this when we hired a fireman in the last year or so. But there is a clause in here that says that the Common Council may waive the limitations of this section for good cause. So there is an ability for the current council member or the current mayor, who's active, to recuse themselves from the decision and not vote on the waiver resolution, but to do a waiver resolution. So that ability to hire a relative still remains with the clause for a waiver resolution. So just to clarify that, it is a possibility, and it would just mean that the active elected official would have to recuse themselves from voting on that waiver resolution. But a person could still be hired if they were qualified and related to a council member. But there are also in there, a candidate is an immediate relative to the city administrator. I can't do that. So there's, to the city clerk, there's a lot of other features in here that were what everybody was looking for. But
Yeah.
again, there is the waiver possibility.
And Council President, the main difference, and I want people to capture this point, right? When you're on council, you're not in the line in the chain of authority, right? Like, no one will directly report to me. No one. If I work in the fire department or the police department and I'm the chief and I hire, that line goes up, right? You might not directly report to them, but that affects internal hiring decisions, right? That affects the morale within the department, because people, and it may not be happening, people say, oh, that's the guy's son or the daughter or whatever, that's why they got the... That doesn't happen on council because we don't make any of those decisions. It doesn't. To me, this is an attack on a volunteer. It really is. And is the 5-year line in here too? I mean,
We took it out.
oh, well, that's great. So you took the 5 year. Well, at first it was going to be, can't hire a relative of a council and for the next 5 years after they're off of council. Like, come on. Where are we getting this stuff from? We are volunteers. No disrespect, city administrator, you're paid. You're a paid employee. What benefit is it that I get? So I get elected to council and I'm a volunteer, and then now all the people that I actually have a blood relationship with in town suffer from that? That ain't right, man. I'm sorry.
All right, other comments from council? Yeah, just a couple of things. I mean, this is, just as a visual for the public, this is the policy. It's a lot.
Yeah.
I think we killed a couple of trees to print this. Sorry to the Environmental Commission. It's a lot. So this was a big undertaking by the admin committee, as Councilwoman Toth said, as well as Megan. So she did a lot of work on this. So I thank her for it. Look, I have a lot of sympathy for Councilman Boyer's comments. I mean, an immediate family member to me is your kids, right? You know, this is a pretty wide net, particularly for council members, where we don't really have much to do, if anything, to the hiring process. And I think this, I don't want to, you know, not vote for this because of this one thing, but I would recommend whoever is steering admin next year, Councilwoman Toth, maybe would look at this to maybe try and make this a little more rational. Because it's very broad. And I think it is, you know, penalizing to someone who does have a lot of relatives in town. I know I have nieces and nephews in town. I think I think some of them would really enjoy a job with the city, and I had no idea that they were excluded from this, which I think is a little harsh. So I kind of agree with you. Councilman Pawlowski?
I have a question for City Administrator Baldwin. How does the waiver clause here work? You know, who initiates it? How does anybody even know? You know, I could envision somebody coming and making an application asking, are you the stepchild of any sitting council person? And then, you know, they're just, you know, just out of it. So, you know, how does it work, and is there a way to memorialize it in this actual policy?
So through you, Council President, all of the recommendations here were that of labor attorney. That's first. Second, the waiver provision is here. We have had instances where folks have applied for a job, and if you are the most qualified person for that job, regardless of on council, it can't be, I can't obviously hire a family member. But if somebody on council, we can do a waiver resolution. If they're the most qualified person for the job, they can still be hired. There's just, we've done it before. While I think all of you were here earlier this year, or maybe it was last year, I'm losing. And I think it was this year. So you just do a waiver resolution, which is allowed for in this clause, and that person can be hired. The person that they're related to, again, would just have to recuse. So if they apply and they're the most qualified person, there is nothing stopping them from being hired.
Thank you for the explanation.
So
Yep.
just to follow up, if I understand it correctly, someone comes in, they apply for a job, they have a family member who's the mayor or who's on council. They'll go through the normal process, and then if you decide that you want to hire them, then you will come to the council and ask for a waiver?
That's right.
And then the council person would recuse themselves in the process.
That's right. And technically, the council person should not serve on the committee for which that person is employed. Like if the person is employed in DCP, then the council person should not serve on that committee. Because while it's not your decision to hire or to fire employees, it can be perceived as pressure if you're on a particular committee where that person, that's all, and it's very easy to work around if there is somebody qualified for a position in the city. We're not a New York City. We're not a Newark. We're not a large municipality. So we have to have ways to work around that.
Yeah, and I think that's my point. We're not, right? We're a small town. And no kidding, I'm not joking, right? Like, I have a lot of family in this town. And when you, and it's approved by a council vote, the waiver, right? See, I mean, that's a problem. If y'all can't see the problem in that, then I don't understand. So you need the council to approve a waiver, which, you know, people may not even know that they're even the relative, right? Like a cousin or something like that. But now you need the council to approve a waiver. And to be honest, what if they don't like me? Right? Y'all know how y'all do, right? So, I mean, then this person is the best person for the job, and now they're penalized because of possibly my political affiliation. And the reason why I'm doing this is so that people would want to volunteer, right? I mean, think about it. There were two black people ever elected in Summit's history since 96 or 66. Two. I'm one of them, right? So if you enact this, and I got a big family in town, if I was a black person, why the hell would I run for council if half of my family can't apply for a job?
Can I make a comment?
Yes, Councilwoman
With all due
Hamlet.
respect, Councilman Boyer, I've been incredibly busy trying to sell the firehouse for the last 2.5 weeks, and as much as I appreciate your comments around this, you had several opportunities. I would have been more than happy to change this, more than happy. And we've had a year to talk about. I would have been more than happy to talk about this. So we can either table it and move it on to next year, but we have, and I empathize with you. I think it's very important, but Ron, can you opine on the local government ethics law? Or can you educate us on, isn't this covered in the local government ethics law? It's 40 dash.
Yeah, this is permitted, so,
So can you just, right, so
I mean, the waiver.
this is very basic.
Yeah, there's nothing illegal about that. I mean,
Right, but this is
have the
covered,
waiver.
municipalities are covered under the local government ethics law. So why do we even have a separate policy in here? Why do we even, isn't that superseded? Or
Well,
we're making,
you should have a policy based on, you should have a policy that is in conformance with the ethics law.
right, that's my
Right.
point. Shouldn't it just mirror the local government ethics law, 40A 9-22.1?
Right, but the ethics law doesn't speak to waivers and things like this.
But as an elected official, right, we are elected officials, so we are held to a higher,
Right, but there's nothing in the ethics law that says you can't hire a family member. You know, you just have to recuse yourself.
And we're not hiring.
I understand.
Yeah, so, and by the way, I objected to this last year, and everyone knew my opinion of it.
We took it out.
I
That's
s-
why we took out the 5 years, and
You took out yeah,
All right,
but.
wait,
it's-
just,
it's-
please, let's wait to be called on. So, Councilman Boyer, you want to finish?
I mean, it's still restrictive. So so what you took out was, if I'm on council and I serve 3 years, you took out the fact that after my 3 years, for 5 years, no one from my family can work for the city. You took that out. Thank you. I mean, so that's 8 years, right? Like, what?
I'm sorry. Okay.
So for 3 years, no one can work, right? And then for 5 years after that, you took that out, right? So great. I'm happy about that. It still comes back to the same point, right? Where you have a big family in town, right? There is a small group, but large, very intermingled family members of black folks that live in this town. Have lived in here for 100 years, right? We have big families. Only 2 of us have been elected. So if I'm on council and there's 50 of my family members who are blood relatives, right? Like, they can't work for the city of Summit without getting a waiver? Like, come on. But anyway, I'll move on from you. Vote however.
Other, Councilwoman Camelson.
Thank you, Council President. This has been a really huge task, and Megan has been working on it since April. We were supposed to pass this resolution earlier this fall, and it just took longer than expected. This was a recommendation from our labor attorney. It is important that we pass this. However, I would say that, Councilman Boyer, you're going to be on admin next year, and I think that this would be a great, subject for you to discuss with Megan and the labor attorney and see if, if it can be amended in a way that everybody can agree on. That's my.
Thank you. Councilman Pulaski.
Yeah, so, question for the city solicitor. We can amend a resolution from the floor, right?
Yes.
Can we amend an employment policy that is attached to a resolution from the floor?
You can do that. You can do that.
Well, I mean, what I would just suggest is cutting these two bullets for the moment, and then about the mayor and common council, and then we can talk about maybe redoing this page afterwards. It's my understanding that we need to pass this tonight so that we have a current employment policy.
My recommendation would be, unless you know of someone who's looking for a job in the next couple of weeks, that we pass this resolution. There's a lot of work. And then, as Councilwoman Toth just mentioned, there's lots of opportunities to make changes next year. So she can drive that as an agenda item in admin, and we can relook at this and make this better. Because I do agree with you, Councilman Boyer, but I do think this is a resolution. But I would not want to. There's a lot of legal terms in all this.
There's a lot of statutory
things.
That have to be passed
That's
this
why
year.
I would be very uncomfortable by winging it, by making any changes on the fly from the dais. I think it would be better to pass it with the note that this needs to be examined. It's a resolution. Can bring this up at any time in the first quarter if admin decides to make some tweaks to it. Councilman Smallwood.
Thank you, Council President. We currently have an employee handbook in place now, correct? With pretty much all of this.
This is the handbook.
Right.
This is the employee manual.
Right. But with adjustments that have been made since April,
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah.
So is there any legal issue why this has to be passed tonight?
My
Since
understanding
we-
from Megan, if I may, Council President?
Yes.
My understanding through Megan is that there are parts of this manual that need to pass because they're mandatory language this year. They have to pass.
Right. And the other point is that as Councilwoman Hamlet said, there have been red lines to this where this is better than it had been. Doesn't mean it's perfect, but it's better. And that's why I would, my view would be to pass this and make changes to it.
If I may add one more thing?
Yes, please.
It's also my understanding from Megan that the attorneys did a complete overhaul of the entire policy. So they've reviewed it and done a fine sweep of all of the sections to make sure that they are in compliance with state regulation. So that's what this is all about. Those policies that concern any council member can be addressed through amendments in the following year.
Thank you. Other comments from council? Councilwoman Hamlet.
I'd like to, I agree with Bob. I think we're supposed to amend it from the floor. We're going to lose the majority in 13 days. It's important to Councilman Boyer. I see his point, and I think if we just strike those two lines, come back next year and do with it what you want. But I certainly missed it. I thought we took out the right pieces. Again, we've had a busy couple weeks, so let's just amend it from the floor if we can. Just 2 lines, 3 lines.
Are you making a motion from the floor?
I'd like to make a motion. I'd like to make a motion to amend this resolution.
Second.
All right, let's have a vote on amending the resolution. So it just would be to strike out those two lines? All right, so all in favor of amending the resolution?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
You're amending the policy.
Amending the policy.
Can we have a roll call vote?
Yeah, let's go to roll call.
Mr. Boyer?
Aye.
Ms. Hamlet?
Aye.
Ms. Kelmanson?
Nay.
Mr. Pulowski?
Aye.
Mr. Smallwood?
Aye.
Ms. Toth?
Nay.
President McTiernan?
Nay. Okay, the motion to amend it passes. So we'll be voting on the amended resolution. We'll do a roll call on that one, too.
Mr. Boyer?
Aye.
Ms. Hamlet?
I just have a quick question. Do we want to specify which, we're going to talk about the specifics of it after this vote, the lines?
We just talked
You
about
already
it.
did it.
We already did
You
that.
made a motion to strike the two lines.
Yeah, we've done that.
But we don't need to identify exactly which two lines it is? or
You
no?
did that. You already did that.
Okay, it's been a long night. Aye.
Ms. Kelmanson?
Nay.
Mr. Pulowski?
Aye.
Mr. Smallwood?
Aye.
Ms. Toth?
Aye.
President McTiernan?
Aye. All right, motion carries. So we passed the amended resolution. All right. Okay, moving right along, we have a few from Law and Labor. Councilman Pawlowski, Law and Labor, number 1.
Thank you. This is resolution ID number 12311 to memorialize this, the city's commitment to monitor and address ancillary issues to general field use and the installation and use of field lights at the Tatlock Sports Complex. So, as I said earlier, we as council members have an obligation to do our very best to look after all Hill citizens. And as I also said, the use of field lights at Tatlock, or at least the use of field lights in a neighborhood like Tatlock, in particular for varsity games, presents a series of unknowns. Nobody has a crystal ball. Nobody can predict the future, but we can closely monitor our failures and successes and everywhere in between and work to improve how we address various issues, including lights at Tatlock. We've promised to do that with Tatlock lights every step of the way. This ordinance memorializes that promise. So some of the specifics are that we will do a post-installation lighting analysis to assess any offsite impacts. We're going to take another look at, or continue to look at the existing landscaping and trees to make sure that they properly shield field lights. We will continue to explore pedestrian and vehicular safety, continue to explore the potential expansion of parking within Tatlock Park to alleviate challenges posed by street parking, continue to garner and solicit community feedback about lights and at Tatlock Park, both pre and post-construction. We have in here that we will conduct town hall meetings in June and in December of 2026, which obviously is just after the spring and fall sports seasons respectively, and that the city, through DCP, working in conjunction with the Capital Improvement Committee and Safety, shall provide reports in April, May, June, October, November, and December of 2026, along with June of 2027. And then I note in particular the final provision here, which I'm going to read. After the first 3 high school games under field lights, as ordinance number 253363 defines those terms, pursuant to section 12.7.2E of ordinance 253363, which states that the SHS Athletic Department shall schedule no more than 10 regular season high school games. The Common Council shall evaluate whether to amend the number of high school games allowed under field lights under the ordinance. With that, I move to adopt this resolution.
I second.
All right, does anyone from the public wish to comment on this resolution? Okay, anyone from council? All right, I'll just make one quick comment. Just, again, I think I want to just commend Councilman Pulowski and Councilman Smallwood. You know, we talked about this when we've gone through this entire process with the field lights. It became incredibly obvious that that neighborhood had issues, not just with lights, but with large events at Tatlock, with parking and safety and noise and all that kind of stuff. And I'm really proud that this council has really addressed those issues. And this is a great resolution that kind of enshrines that commitment to continue to address that neighborhood in order to check in with them, to get feedback, to improve the way that those fields are done. And so I commend Law and Labor for putting this together. So thank you. All right. With that, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right. Motion carries. All right. Law and Labor number 2, Councilman Pulowski.
Thank you. This is resolution ID number 12289, and it's a resolution by the city to oppose Senate Bill number 4736, which proposes to preempt the municipal power to zone for properties owned by religious and nonprofit institutions, which, in many's opinion, will diminish home rule for municipalities. This resolution is based on one suggested by the League of Municipalities. And if you've been paying attention over recent years, you know that our good friends in Trenton have taken steps to erode our autonomy as a municipality, particularly when it comes to forced development. Affordable housing and Mount Laurel is always a hot topic and controversial at that. I've spoken before about why the city of Summit has been unfairly burdened with certain obligations under the Fair Housing Act over the years. Summit's always embodied the attributes that the Mount Laurel Doctrine strives to achieve in municipalities. We have economic diversity, and that's the main crux of Mount Laurel. 3 low-income housing developments with 195 units to give families who otherwise couldn't afford to live in Summit a chance to live in our great town and be hilltoppers along with the rest of us. This is affordable housing with a lowercase a. But it's not affordable housing with a capital A, which means that it doesn't count towards our numbers because of residency preferences. Overlook Hospital also has 91 affordable housing units with a lowercase a. They don't count either because they're not affirmatively marketed. They can't be because they have to be hospital workers who serve our community and the surrounding communities, but they still don't count. There are plenty of other rentals in town that fit the bill of lowercase affordable housing, and they don't count because they aren't deed restricted. And I think the most recent deed restrictions that are required in order for it to count are that they be restricted for 60 years to maintain their affordable housing status. 40? I thought we said 60 at the meeting just now. So without being forced to do so, and I'll add that 15% of our students have free and reduced lunches in Summit. You compare that to Chatham, it's 1. We're 33% minority in this town. Chatham is 11. And the diversity among our minorities is far greater than that in our neighbor. 10 of their 11% are Asian. 10 of ours are Asian. So we don't need, without being forced to do so, Summit has, for a century, been what Mount Laurel's looking for. And we don't need another set of entities, religious institutions, and nonprofits to be able to bypass our local planning processes and increase planning and zoning processes, which is what this bill would do, and force us to increase density against our will. Now, I understand that maybe this bill isn't going to go anywhere in the state Senate, but just in case it does, I move to adopt this resolution.
Council President, I was asked by Councilwoman Toth to second this, so I second this resolution.
All right, thank you. Anyone from the public wish to make a comment on this resolution?
Vito A. Gallo, 10 Euclid Avenue in Summit. I would be remiss if I didn't say I'm impressed with the work of all the volunteers on this council. You do amazing work. I attended my first council meeting in 1971 in Summit, so I've looked up close at the work you do, and nothing but admiration and thanks for all you do. I don't always agree with what you do, but I respect what you do and your commitment and the volunteerism that you do. On this particular bill, this is, I certainly hope the legislature passes it, because we have an enormous need for affordable housing statewide. I doubt that this bill, should it pass, will have much impact on the city of Summit, but I can tell you all over the state there are religious properties that are underutilized. My first job in city planning was in Hudson County, and the town, it was my hometown that I went in Bayonne, New Jersey. They had 6 Catholic schools with elementary schools, two religious high schools. They're all but one closed. All those schools are closed. The 2 high schools are closed. 5 of the 6 elementary schools that were around when I was a child, and are sitting vacant buildings all over. There's an enormous shortage of affordable housing throughout New Jersey. This is an affordable housing issue that needs to be addressed, and to preclude towns that really should be dealing with this issue by taking a parochial view of this, no pun in the word parochial, as a parochial schoolboy, I think is unnecessary for the council to take any action or position on this bill. I would hope that you would just table this. If you pass it, I understand it's your expression of your view of what the state of New Jersey should do, but this is a nationwide problem. Affordability is on the lips of everyone running for office or will be running for office in the next year. This is an affordability issue. We don't have an adequate supply of private housing. We're increasingly losing the diversity of the minority population and the lower income population of the city, because it's so hard to afford rents in this town, or housing. The price of admission to move into a town like Summit is extraordinary. So I think that this, you need to take a broader perspective. This issue of preemption of local zoning powers, I need not remind you that you serve as an instrumentality of state government. Your powers that you exercise here are delegated to you by the state government. And this is an issue of statewide importance. So I'd respectfully ask you to not take this action, respect the fact that you may take this action, but I think it's really unnecessary to take this action, because I don't think it has much impact here in this community, but has enormous impact throughout the state of New Jersey. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Other comments from the public? Already comments from council.
Okay, well,
Councilwoman Toth.
thank you, Council President. I think Councilmember Smallwood kind of signaled this. And this, as Councilmember Pulowski noted, this resolution opposes a bill, or the Senate bill. It is going to die in Senate committee at the end of the year. The bill would essentially mandate overlay zones for land owned by religious and nonprofit institutions, in hopes that they would choose to develop affordable housing on unneeded land rather than sell that land to the highest bidder. And because that bill is not going to become law this year, opposing it at this late stage with 2 weeks and, well, a month left in the legislative session would only serve to confirm the suspicions of those who think that Summit is opposed to affordable housing. I'm going to oppose this resolution.
Thank you. Other comments? Anyone?
I think it's,
Councilwoman Hamlet.
I think in a perfect world, Mr. Gallo, I would love to agree with you, but as I sit here for the last 3 years, the amount of churches who will not sell us their property to create affordable housing is shocking. We were able to work with the church around the corner and get 13 units. We have asked the Beacon Church to sell us the property on the corner, and they are holding out for the highest bidder, right? So as much as I want to agree with you, and St. Teresa's, we're begging you to put some units on there. We're working with Catholic Charities now, and so I find it ironic, for as hard as we work, and as hard as we're working to negotiate with Fair Share, that the churches around here will not give us their land. That's the problem. And that's why we're at an impasse.
Other comments?
Council President.
Councilman Boyer.
Mr. Gallo, thank you for your service.
Yes.
Right? Like, you've done a lot for this city, man. And I know you know a lot of my family members. I saw you over there smiling like, Boyer's right. You got a lot of family members, man. Good job. Now, I agree with Councilwoman Toth in a sense that this is kind of like a setup for municipalities, for the state legislator to believe that municipalities are against affordable housing, right? Because they're against this bill. It's kind of a setup, right? But when you look at it, this is like a money grab here. Like, affordable housing has been a money grab for a quick minute. First of all, the fact that nonprofits, and I was telling Bob this, Bob, you know what? You and I can go down to the state, right? We can go to Secretary of State, get an LLC, become a 501c, get a nonprofit, and then we can, we could buy some of this property, 20% set aside, right? Keep the 80%, make it, $5,000 a unit, jackpot. I'm on to the game, man, right? Like, so if this bill said you have to build 100% affordable housing, okay, so we're talking about something different, right? But it doesn't say that. We're talking about these folks can come in, get land without the municipality's input, zoning, planning board input, and do a 20% set aside and profit from this. This is not about affordable housing. And that's why I agree with this resolution going against this state action. And I think it's an overreach by the state of New Jersey. Thank you, Council President. Oh, one more thing. I don't know if y'all know this, right? New Jersey is the most densely populated state. In the entire country, New Jersey is. I mean, that says it all too, right? We're losing open space. I remember when it was like Greenpeace, right? Like, those days are kind of over. But thank you, Council President.
Thank you. Other comments from council? Councilman Smallwood.
Thank you, Council President. Mr. Gallo, thank you for your kind words, and I thank you again for your service and what you've done for Summit. I'm really torn about this because, affordable housing really needs to start at the state level, and it needs to be restructured. We're given a mandate for round 4 for 345 units. If a developer comes in and builds a 100-unit building, only 20% of it has to be affordable. The other 80% goes to the developer. They're making a lot of money on this. And so what is it about? Is it about the perception of building affordable housing? But 80% of the markets, 80% of the units in that building is at market rate. So that tells the next developer, or even the next building, apartment building, if they renovate, if a tenant moves out and they renovate their building, they can increase that rent for that particular unit. And I think what all it does is by building more and more units at 80% market rate, only allows for other owners who currently own an apartment building to renovate their empty apartments and be able to charge a higher rate. That, to me, does not bring down affordability. Bob listed in his comments in the introduction of how much Summit has already done in terms of affordable housing. As you well know, that we just don't get credit for. I think Summit has been a leader in trying to build affordable housing, but we just don't get credit for it because we don't fit into the rules. For that reason, that's why I'm going to support this, because I really feel like the current affordable housing structure benefits the developers more than it does the people who need affordable housing.
Thank you. Other comments from council? Councilman Pulowski.
So thank you, Mr. Gallo. You're a huge part of our history that I relied on in making the point that I made a couple of minutes ago. But as to the comment that voting for this is going to confirm suspicions that Summit's against affordable housing, anyone who thinks we're against affordable housing hasn't been paying attention. What we're against is unreasonable density being forced upon us, taxing our infrastructure. And I don't want to get into a discussion about unalienable rights here, but if indeed the legislature does give us the ability to do the things that we do here, one of those things that they give us is the ability to plan and zone. And I don't want to see that eroded any more than it already has been, and that's why I support this resolution.
Thank you. Other comments? Yeah, I just wrap up by saying, one, Mr. Gallo, thank you for all your hard work over the years for Summit. You've left literally marks all over town, so with your name on them, by the way. So thank you. Yeah, look, I take issue with the fact that if you oppose this, it's because you oppose affordable housing. That's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. You can oppose this because while I agree with Mr. Gallo, New Jersey is a unitary government. What that means is that local government, county governments are given power at the behest of the state. And they just give it to them, and they can always take it away. So Mr. Gallo is absolutely right that the legislature has every right in the way our system's set up to take these powers away. But just because they can doesn't mean they should. And where I sit, I represent the community here. And my constituents are the people who live here. And so I'm going to fight like hell to make sure that our community people are represented and that their wishes and the way they want to live in their town with the willingness to create affordable housing in a way that's consistent with the character of our town. Councilman Pulowski has mentioned on several occasions, and I think Mr. Gallo would attest to, we have a long history of providing affordable housing in this town. Anyone who looks at this community and makes the assumption because there are wealthy people here that we hate affordable housing is lazy and hasn't done their homework about what makes Summit tick. That's just a fact. And so where I would support this resolution is because we should have control over development in our community. And again, that doesn't mean we're against affordable housing, but we want it to be consistent with the character of our community. We don't live in Jersey City. If I wanted to live in a high-density area, I would move there. But I don't. And there's lots of people who love the town the way it is, with the willingness to increase affordability. Now, my part on this around the way New Jersey works, we do have a affordability crisis in New Jersey. But the way New Jersey goes about fixing it is completely wrong. It's broken. We have this evil alliance between money-grubbing developers and, people who truly do care about affordability for people and have gotten in bed together and have railroaded any, local say in how to do this. And if you think about the 80-20 split, yeah, we're getting 20% affordable housing for those people, and we're always struggling to find more land for it. But the dirty secret is, for the other 80% of the units that get constructed, guess what? They're more unaffordable for everybody else. The developers charge a higher price for those 80 units, so they subsidize the affordable ones that the state is forcing them to make. They still want to make the same profit. Capitalism hasn't died here. So we're saying we're focused on the 20, but how about the band from 20 to 50, who now are looking for apartments in Summit, and every building that's getting built here, they're charging $5,000 for a one-bedroom. How affordable is that? The system in New Jersey is broken, and I am happy. This is just going to continue to break the system more if this bill gets passed. And that's not to say that I'm against affordable housing. I'm against the way it is propagated in our state. I know it's not going to change. There's a lot of money that floats around and makes this happen, and that's the sad truth. And we've talked about this a lot. But eroding our ability to control our own destiny, we should fight for that. I can't believe any municipality anywhere in the state of New Jersey, whether they're for affordable housing or not, would be for this. Every municipality should want to control their own, area and work for their constituents, not some person down in Trenton. And again, so there's lots of things in this this bill I find objectionable, but the basic thing is like, we work for the people here. We have a community that cares. We've had a community that's cared for decades about promoting affordability. We don't need make a broken system even more broken by passing legislation like this. And that's my comment. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
2 nays.
2 nays. Motion carries. All right. Law and Labor number 3, Councilman Pulowski.
Thank you. This is resolution ID number 12308 to award bid sale of old firehouse property at 396 Broad Street. The Common Council adopted resolution number 41805 authorizing the advertisement and receipt of sealed bids for the property, as I just mentioned, block 2706, lots 1 through 4. Sealed bids were obtained on December 11th, and 4 bids were received. Tabulation of those bids has been provided by the city manager, Tammy Baldwin, and published. Commencing December 12th, discussions were held with various bidders, including Milburn Townhomes LLC, MRY Associates LLC, and K&K Developers. The 2 highest bidders, as a part of their bid package, qualified their offers and significantly revised the proposed contract to incorporate various provisions which exceeded the scope of the bid specifications. Discussions were held with the 2 highest bidders, but unfortunately, the issues regarding their qualifications to the bid could not be resolved. Therefore, since the 2 highest bidders did not comply with the conditions of the bid, and they were unwilling to accept the property in as-is condition. Council discussed at closed session whether to award that bid to K&K Developers in the amount of $5,450,000. It's my understanding that we'll be paying a if we accept this, if we award this, if we pass this resolution, we will be paying a commission of $268,000. So the city will realize $5,182,000. K&K Developers is a division of Garden Homes, which is owned by the Wolf family. They've developed thousands of units in New Jersey, and their proposal was fully consistent with our bid parameters and exceeded the minimum bid by $850,000. Sale of the firehouse will bring in the substantial funds we've been counting on for years, and again, it comes at a premium above $850,000 above the minimum. With that, I move to pass this resolution.
I second.
All right, comments from the public.
Not having seen the bids, I don't have a comment on whether accepting the third highest bid is a good idea or not. But I do have one thing that I worry about. What is there to prevent an eventual buyer from, once they own the property, lock, stock, and barrel, from holding off on actually building a building and then trying to get the courts via the Mount Laurel process to get us to disregarded zoning and overlay zones and all that stuff that you guys worked on to get us back to where we were 3 years ago? How can you prevent that from happening?
Thank you for your comments. Other comments from the public?
Good evening, Mayor Fagan, Council President McTiernan, members of council and staff. Jim Bennett, B-E-N-N-E-T-T, 38 Fairview Avenue. This has been a long time coming, and I urge council to get on with the business of getting the property sold, getting the sales proceeds in the door, and applying that towards the knocking down of the municipal debt, and getting the property on the tax rolls, which is probably more important than the actual sales price, because with property on the tax rolls, you get recurring revenue in the form of taxes. So in the interest of enabling council to get on with that, I'll conclude my comments.
Thank you, Mr. Bennett. Other comments from the public?
Because I guess the comment's the same. Susan Bowen, 45 Waldron Avenue. I think you did the right thing. You let the market set the price, and the market set the price, and now you just have to make sure you negotiate a really good binding agreement that protects the city. And Jim Bennett's right. What you're doing is setting up an annuity, and the present value of that annuity, I bet, is even more than the principal value you're getting right now. So I think you did the right thing. And it was hard fought, and you did a good job. So that's all.
Thank you very much. Other comments from the public?
Just a point, Vito Gallo, 10 Euclid Avenue, just a point of information is the governing body had an opportunity to do a 100% affordable housing project, and you chose not to. And then you criticized the developers for doing 20% affordable when you had an opportunity to do exactly what you didn't want to do, have a greedy developer come in and do 80% market and 20% affordable. This is a point of information, question of information. Is this an inclusionary housing project?
What's that?
This is the question through the chair. Is this in fact the proposal of the conditions of sale? Is this an inclusionary housing development? Does it include 20% affordable or some percentage?
It includes more than that.
Includes that. May I ask what the percentage is?
Was it 7 units?
It's a minimum of 7, so it
Minimum
really
of
depends on
7.
how many units they build.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, I just see a certain incongruity between criticizing developers that do affordable inclusionary projects, and the town is about to vote on an inclusionary housing project, which you find is in the economic interest of the municipality. That's my only point. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments? All right, comments from council.
Council President.
Councilman Boyer.
A city administrator, Administrator Baldwin. In 2021, the Common Council approved a bond for the firehouse, right? It was $16.1 million. I think we're about 17 million probably right now, right?
Through you, Council President, it's still a $16.1 million bond. We're
That-
paying it down each year.
That's good. I'm glad we didn't go over like that much. But the reason why I bring that up is because the one thing that I think people may miss here is that we want to keep Summit affordable. We want to keep it affordable, right? So if we were to put an 100% affordable housing on that lot, we miss out on the ratables for the next 100 years or whatever. We don't get the $5.4 million to pay down the bond debt of the firehouse. We would have to take out a pilot. We would then have to use money from our affordable housing trust fund that would fix places like Vita Gala, right? That's a commitment, right? A commitment that the taxpayers here in Summit can't afford. Last year, I was getting phone calls with the last bill, with some residents were calling me saying, "Hey, you're going to go up $1,000 on our taxes?" Crying like, "Yo, we can't live here anymore in Summit," right? So we have to do something about our debt. We have to, and this helps us with our debt payments. And by the way, we've lost, 300 parking spaces? 400,000 a year? That's a lot of money, right? So, I mean, this helps us in a certain way. And Summit should not be in the development business. We're out of the development business. I think we said that after Broad Street West. We're no longer in the development business. We're selling the land, fair market. This company that purchased it is a reputable company. They have money. They're going to close the deal. My concern, and I'm glad that we are doing this deal, is that the city really, really needs to pay down our debt. And I think with this upcoming budget, even more so. And let me just ask the city administrator one last question. So let's say we didn't sell this property and we made this property we made it a park, right? I like parks. I mean, yeah, but okay, so what would be the consequences of that, right? The city buys the property and,
So,
well, we keep the property. Thank you, I appreciate it. Yeah, we keep the property. We don't get any money for it.
so through you, Council President, if I may just kind of give a synopsis of what I have been saying to council all along, which is what, when I came here as the chief financial officer in 2019, I was told by the then council, by the then administrator, the intention was always to build a new firehouse, to use the old property to offset the debt that we took on for the new firehouse. That was always the intention. That never changed. What changed was how we were doing that. Originally, it was the L&M Toll Brothers with the Broad Street West, and they were talking about, well, maybe we'll get $8 million for that, and then that came down to around $5.5 million by the time there were some contingencies and whatever that was going to work out to be. Well, Broad Street West, as we all know, is gone. So when the appraisal came in, I think it's public knowledge, the appraisal's in at $4.6 million. So that was the minimum bid. And what we've been able to do is to sell that property as is with any remediation or contamination off the back of the city for the $5.250. it's not just that it's not a quick cash thing. I think I've heard that comment a few times. It's not that the city needs quick cash. Yes, next year's going to be a challenging budget year. We're going up approximately $1.2 million in health benefits. Whether we stayed with New Jersey State, that was going to be 37% increase. We went into a HIF, that's 34%. So we're trying to manage all of these things that are coming at us, these financial challenges that we have. Being able to use the net profits of this, just under $5 million, to pay off the debt, to put it into a reserve, and to pay down the firehouse piece of the debt, the purchase of the 7-seater, which made a contingent property. So in continuous property, the ability to pay that down to some extent takes the pressure off of the budget for that amount. So it does help. It brings a piece in as a revenue. It's a responsible way of budgeting. It's a responsible management practice. The other thing that it does down the line in, how long it takes to develop, is it 2 or 3 years? However fast the garden homes can get that property up, we have a rateable. There are very few ways to bring revenue into a municipality anymore. I mean, the Economic Development Advisory Committee is always looking, how can we find new revenue streams? There just aren't new revenue streams, but a rateable is one of those. So that's, I put blinders on and I look at what is the fiscal health, the financial health of the city, and where are we going to be? Not just today, but where we're going to be in the future. So those are the reasons why I've been talking to council about it. Those have been the tenets that I've been putting forth. So I hope I answered your question and all of that.
Couldn't have said it any better. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Pulowski.
I just want to add, the density of this project is going to be 30 units an acre. 32, sorry. I don't remember exactly what at home was. Close to 50 units per acre. Broad Street West would have been 88. So it's better for our density as well.
Councilwoman Hamlet?
And we really don't know, the overlay zone, or sorry, the zoning for this district allows for 32 units per acre, but it could be less. I will say that most of us were elected up here for, again, those who fought against Broad Street West. So once we finally got up here, it took some time to, number one, put the overlay zoning together. We worked with our planner extensively to get that overlay zone done. It just takes some time. So I'm really pleased the last meeting of at least my council career to hand a gift to the new council, which is the sale of a municipal property. And I want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you, Rosie, and all of the other employees who put so much work into this sale. There's, for the last 4 weeks, there's been documents and emails, and I think most of us have been working 12, 14-hour days to get this property sold. It's the right thing to do for the taxpayer. It's the right thing to do for the town. And we heard the community loud and clear that this was to be sold as a comprehensive tract, as a rateable. So we are really pleased to be awarding this bid tonight. And I'm very pleased that it's the last council meeting. A couple questions that came up. We had very specific reverter clauses, Mr. Hoyk, in the bid, which really talks about how a developer has to finish this project, has to get approvals within 2 years. There's some extensions, but we're very specific around that reverter clause. And then, Mr. Gallo, one of the questions you had was regarding the number of affordable units. We set the minimum of 7 as really that's going to be more. That'll ultimately be more than depending on if they build 48 units or 32. It's a sliding scale, but we wanted to make sure that our commitment to affordable housing was reflected in this, and we will get at least 7 units. We might get more, but I'm very, very pleased, and thank you, City Administrator, and especially Rosie. Rosie put her heart and soul into this sale, and all there's a lot of specifics that go around selling municipal property and deadlines and notices and things like that. So thank you, Rosie, for all your hard work.
Councilman Smallwood.
Thank you, Council President. Just from a financial perspective, I just want to give an an apples to apples comparison versus the Broad Street West versus what we would receive here. So Business Administrator Ball, I'm going to ask a couple of questions. During Broad Street West, I believe it was a pilot program, $8 million, right? The city also purchased the building directly behind the current or the former firehouse for $1.55 million, right? And then there was going to be a $1.7 million RAB, right? So that brings it, if it did receive $8 million, that brings it down to $4.75 million. And then there was a 30-year tax abatement, correct? Okay. So with this current sale of $5.45 million minus the broker commission of $268,000, that brings us down to a sale of $5.1 million. And within a 2-year period, once the development starts, that brings the tax rateable to roughly around $600,000 per year. Okay. I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
Not to mention the density.
Other comments from council? Councilman Pulaski.
Yeah, I just also wanted to thank the mayor's task force, who worked very hard on this, Rosie, Tammy, everybody else, but in particular, Councilwoman Hamlet, who has been living and breathing this, along with all of our affordable housing stuff, which hopefully very soon we'll have some good things to report on. So thanks again to everybody.
Thank you.
I
Councilman Smallwood?
I do have one more comment. I'd also like to, because this started several years ago, I would like to thank the residents for Summit that stood up, that fought for this, that elected us to represent them because of the Broad Street West project. And I don't feel like I would even be here if it hadn't been for the group of the residents for Summit. And I would like to thank you personally for supporting us, giving us the opportunity to serve you. And it is a very great pleasure and heartwarming feeling to get this done. So thank you.
Thank you. Other comments? Yeah, I would just wrap up to say a couple things. One, around, I think it was discussed already about the all affordable unit or proposal and why that was rejected. Made no sense economically, put the taxpayer on the hook. It was more dense. I think honestly, the big problem with that project is they never went out and found private money to fund the thing. We're having a veteran housing proposal, and we're stocking our committee. People are going to go out and raise money to support this. I would have loved to have had At Home bid on this property. They had no money. They wanted the taxpayer to foot the whole thing. Doesn't make any sense when we have these other obligations that we have to think about for the city. And I think, it's not incongruous to work within the system that the state has created. I told you I didn't like it, but that's what we're given to do. And we've tweaked it to add more affordable units than was required by the state to do it. But again, there's lots of different ways that affordable housing can be promoted without this marriage of developers and housing advocates. New Jersey has chosen to go down that route, and that's what we live with. And so I don't have to like it, but that's the system we live in. And that's how we ended up doing this project. This has been a long time in coming. I know Councilman City Administrator Baldwin has mentioned, this goes back over 10 years, probably longer than that. The firehouse was first proposed to be moved back in like 2012. And everyone knew it was going to be expensive. And everyone knew that it would open up this site. And that's when we started down that ANOR path to think about developing it and kind of succumb to the siren call of having this ability to work with a developer and put in what we want and we'll negotiate things. And it turned out that was the wrong thing to do because You had a developer who knew everything, and you had a council, not their fault. They're not developers. And it wasn't a fair negotiation getting in bed with the developer around Broad Street West. And I commend the community for standing up and saying enough is enough and having that to be changed. And this is the long culmination of that process. This was not easy to do. If my hair could go any grayer, it would, going through this. This has been a nightmare. My wife, she'll be happy when, she's more happy than me when this thing's sold. But, you know, it's very complicated. You know, we changed the zoning. We had to get out of the, we had to declassify it as an ANOR site, change the zoning. We had to consolidate the property by buying the finger lot. We had to negotiate a land swap with them. We had to get the whole thing resurveyed and redeeded and work out an agreement with that group. Doing that, we've had feedback that that we could tweak the zoning that the council 2 years ago worked on to make it more lucrative for a potential developer, to change the way the parking would be, et cetera. And we worked with our fair share obligations to actually harden the the zoning. Instead of an overlay zone, we hardened it to say it is the zoning where we're going to require the 7 affordable units. All that took time. You had to close on the old property, get it all done, and then you had to go out and market all this. It has been a Herculean task. And I just really want to thank Rosie, I want to thank Ms. Baldwin, I want to thank our solicitors, Matt, Ron, and Brian Chakowski. They've worked really, really hard on this, getting all this done. I would have felt personally kind of like a failure if we hadn't done this before today's meeting. This was one of my goals when I joined council, to get this done. It's good for the city, it's good for the taxpayer, it's going to be in line with our zoning, and we now have a property that the market valued. We went out to bid, we got the bids back. This is what the market says it's worth. And as Tammy mentioned, we sold it as is. You know, the environmental issues, et cetera, which we don't think there are many, if any, but we don't need to worry about that going forward. It's done as is. And this is the gift, as I think Councilwoman Hamlet alluded to. This is the gift that we'll keep on giving from a budgetary perspective, because we will pick up a rateable that's going to be substantial, that will really, really help future councils deal with all the different cost hikes that happen. You know, huge increase in healthcare. These are things that you have to deal with. And if you want to keep, you know, your tax levy under the 2% cap, you better find ratables here and there. And this is a really, really good one. So I'm super, super happy that this got done. I'm proud of all the work that people did to make this thing happen. And again, I'm incredibly excited to see what'll end up there. It's going to be a great addition to our downtown. So, thank you. Oh, and we had I would also want to thank our broker. I know they're getting paid for it, but they did a really, really good job. So thank you for all your advice. And as well, working with us. We were not an easy client. We had a lot of demands. They were like, what? But they were really willing to work with us and make this happen. So thank you very, very much for doing that for us. Okay. All right. Any other comments? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Motion carries.
Woohoo.
All righty. All right, moving right along. We have one from Community Programs, Councilman Smallwood.
Thank you, Council President. This is ID number 11645, authorized execution of shared services agreement with the Summit Board of Education and for the Anderson Fieldhouse This is a 5-year shared services agreement between the City of Summit and the Board of Education for the use of the Anderson Fieldhouse. Under the agreement, the board assumes full responsibility for maintenance, repairs, and cleaning of the facility at no cost to the city, while the city's role is limited to snow removal and weekend restroom cleaning when the school is not using the building. For taxpayers, this means reduced city operating cost, clearer accountability, and a well-maintained facility, and without additional spending or new fees. I move to pass this resolution.
Second.
Comments from the public? Comments from council? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, on to safety and health. Councilman Boyer.
Thank you, Council President. This is ID number 12292, authorizing a grant application for the for the DOJ Bulletproof Vest Partnership. I would like to move this for adoption.
Second.
Thank you very much. Would anyone from the public like to comment on this resolution? All right, any comments from council?
Yeah, Council President, just real
Yes.
quick, I just want to say that this grant, I think we get it every year, every other year. I'm not sure. Vests are expensive. I'm not sure if you guys wear the plates or the soft body, whatever. But they're expensive. $1,800, and the DOJ cares about police officers. This is great, right? Like this is a great grant program. It takes some of the pressure off of the municipality to put it in a capital budget. So I commend the DOJ for supporting police throughout the United States. So thank you, Council President.
Thank you. Other comments from council? All righty, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Councilwoman Toth. All right, moving on to capital projects and community services. Councilwoman Hamlet, number 1.
Thank you, Council President. This is a resolution of the City of Summit, County of Union, authorizing the mayor to execute a mediation agreement between the City of Summit and Fair Share Housing Center. I just want to say briefly as an introduction, as we move forward on our fair share housing obligations, I want to note that this has been a very collaborative process. Our work with not only Fair Share Housing Center, as well as Russo Development and Onyx, has shown that mediation can produce realistic, lawful outcomes. Mediation allows us to meet our obligations responsibly with greater predictability and local control, while keeping the focus on solutions that serve the community and our future residents. I'm going to read this one sort of at length just because it's an important one, and then the mayor will sign this one upon our mediation with Fair Share. Whereas pursuant to the March 2024 amendments to the Fair Housing Act, the City of Summit filed a declaratory judgment action on January 22nd, 2025 with the Affordable Housing Dispute Resolution Program and the court. Whereas in order to maintain immunity from all Mount Laurel lawsuits, the city was required to prepare a 4th-round housing element and fair share plan, which the city's planning board adopted, the Common Council endorsed, and the city submitted to the program and the court for review on June 25th, 2025. Whereas Russo Development Company, Russo, filed a challenge with the program and the court to the city's 4th-round housing element and fair share plan, whereas Incline Capital did the same, as well as Fair Share Housing Center. Whereas in order to resolve Fair Share Housing Center's challenge before the program and the court, the city, Russo, and Fair Share Housing Center negotiated a settlement and drafted a mediation agreement which outlines a global settlement between the city, Russo, and Fair Share Housing Center, and sets forth certain deadlines that must be met by the city moving forward in the process so that the city can obtain a compliance certification approving its 4th-round housing element share fair plan, which will give the city immunity from all Mount Laurel lawsuits, including builder's remedy lawsuits through July 1st, 2035. And now therefore be it resolved by the Common Council of the City of Summit, the City Union, New Jersey, that the Common Council hereby authorizes and directs the mayor of the City of Summit to execute a mediation agreement between Russo, Fair Share Housing Center, and approved by the city's professionals. I'd like to move this resolution.
Second.
All right, any member of the public like to comment on this resolution?
more than a comment, I have a couple of questions. Earlier, Councilwoman Hamlet mentioned difficulties getting to agreements with St. Teresa's and the other house of worship that was part of our round 3 solution. So it sounds like the round 3 plan that was put forth on paper is not happening. Or how does that factor into resolving our round 4 with fair share? Because we had an obligation to complete certain units and we arrived at them for round 3 thanks to houses of worship in the city, right? So are those units getting built? Are they not getting built? How is that happening? And also, for the benefit of the public, if we're going to allow our mayor to sign an agreement, do we have any description for the public of what a round 4 settlement agreement might look like? I mean, are these developers actually coming in and building buildings? Are they not? What is in the agreement? Because it sounds like this has to be signed by December 31st, and there isn't another meeting by December 31st. I actually stayed here because I wanted to understand this. And I'm going to go home tonight not understanding this any better than I did when I came in. So it would be wonderful if we could get some clarity. How did we finish round 3? What happens specifically with the houses of worship? Secondly, what happens with the 2 developers that filed challenges to our round 4 plan? And what, if anything, is fair share wanting us to do in addition to whatever those developers might want to do? And where do we are in terms of what they might choose to build or not build? Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Other comments? All right, comments from council. I would just say.
I was just going to say, Mr. Hoek, listen, I am so frustrated with this whole process because every time I always ask, what can we say? I want to tell the people, I want to tell them everything that's going on. And it's like, no, we're in negotiation. Legally, we can't say anything. This process is, I'm going to use some jargon. This process is whack. It is. It really is. Why can't we tell the public, what's going on? I'm frustrated as hell, man, just like you. I'm listening to you when you come up here, and I'm like, yeah, you're absolutely right. You are absolutely 100% right, and it's frustrating. I got to tell you. And it ain't right.
Agreed. Other comments? Councilwoman Hamlet?
I would just say, we've been working really hard, like I said, in collaboration with Fair Share Housing Center and Russo Development and Onyx, as well as creating affordable housing overlay zones throughout the city. And I think, Claire, you'll probably be able to give an update in January, but, unfortunately, we're still in mediation, and it's all subject to attorneys. And, but I think you'll be pleased with the results, so.
Other comments? Yes, Madam Mayor.
I have to comment on the process because, Mr. Hoek, I agree with you, and I've been screaming about it for 2 years. Literally every time we have a Mount Laurel meeting, which is every week, I complain about how frustrating the process is. So, agreed. Unfortunately, that doesn't really change what we can and can't share. So, apologies. I think we all have the best interests of Summit in our hearts, and we've pushed back as hard as we can, I think. So, that's all.
Yeah, I would just say, this is, what we're talking about is round 4. Round 3 is, as far as I'm aware, is done. There is no round 3 issues. And just to clarify, we had a 50-unit best effort, not an obligation. I know that word has been bantied around on what that means, but round 3 has been put to bed, as far as I know. Round 4 is what we're talking about, and as I mentioned in my opening comments, our lawyer would, described it, we're on the 5-yard line. I completely agree with Councilman Boyer and and Mayor Fagan, the process is horrible. You know, one of the goals of this process, I think, when they passed this legislation a few years ago, was to promote transparency, and it's done anything but. You know, we didn't write the legislation. You know, we should pass another resolution to say, don't do this again, Trenton, because this was horrible. But we have to live with the way they set it up. And, you know, I'm sure when these people created the legislation, they didn't think that it would come down to, you know, having these negotiations where the public is fairly in the dark about where this stuff happens. But that is how they created this. It is incredibly frustrating that we can't talk about this. But because they set it up as a mediation, which is a legal process, that's where we are. I mean, we have a couple of lawyers up here. I'm sure they're just as frustrated too, but they understand where we are on this. And the good news is, like I said, I think the prognosis is we're going to have a good settlement. We've worked really, really hard to you know, fulfill our obligations around what we take very seriously is affordable housing in the context of working within our community and what our community would like to see as well. And, you know, we'll see what the public thinks, how we do. You know, when this thing gets announced, probably sometime in January, I guess, right? And then, you know, I'm sure some people may love it, some people will be, you know, may hate it. And that's, sadly, it's very difficult to get input in between because of the way the process has been structured. So I apologize for the process, and we're working as best we can within it. So, okay. Any other comments? All right. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, moving right along to capital projects number 2, Councilwoman Hamlet.
I'd like permission to bundle the next 1, 2, 3, 4.
All right, I love it.
Okay, we've got ID 12306, 12305, 12254, and 12265. All of these are authorizing 2026 professional services. This is authorizing Serenian, Edwards, Buzek, and Nolan not to exceed $125,000. Authorizing city planner affordable housing services. That would be Burgess and Associates not to exceed $100,000. Authorizing 2026 city planner in-house general services for Neglia not to exceed $75,000. And authorize 2026 consulting engineering services to Stonefield Engineering and Design not to exceed $85,000. I'd like to move forward and bundle these 4 resolutions.
Second.
All right, any member of the public wish to comment on any of these resolutions? All right, any member of council like to comment?
I'm going to comment on each and every one of them right now.
Right.
Get you out of here in 5
That was a
minutes,
good
eh?
comment. Thank you for the brevity of it. Any other comments? Councilman Smallwood.
I would like to thank Councilwoman Hamlet for bundling these and,
Can you guys seriously?
sorry.
10:45, come on.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
All right, any other comments? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, capital projects number 6, Councilwoman Hamlet.
Thanks, Council President. Resolution 12307, whereas 2 bids were received and opened Tuesday, November 25th at 11 a.m. in the council chambers for the Public Works Transfer Replacement Trailer. The submitted lowest bid was Gabrielle Kenilworth of New Jersey in the amount of $192,000. The city has purchased numerous vehicles from them. This purchase is for 100 cubic yard transfer trailer used for solid waste transportation at the city's transfer station. It will be utilized daily and is being purchased to replace the one that was totaled during a fire in February. I'd like to move this resolution.
Second.
All right, any member of the public wish to comment on this resolution? Please do so now. All right, member of council? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Capital projects number 7, Councilwoman Hamlet.
Resolution 12288, proposals were received by the Purchasing Department on November 16th for the marketing and transportation of recycling materials. for 24 and 25 for the Summit Recycling Center. A sole bidder submitted a proposal for the project, which was Giordano. Based on the scoring and options provided in the bid, it was recommended that they be awarded a contract for 24 months, beginning in January, ending on December 31st. However, that had an extension, and that's where we're at right here. So at this time, I'd like to move forward the resolution authorizing that extension. The anticipated cost for 2026 should not exceed $50,000. I'd like to move this resolution.
Second.
All right, any member of the public wish to comment on this resolution? Comments from council? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, moving on, last three resolutions from finance. Resolution number 1, Councilwoman Toth.
Thank you, Council President. Beginning in November each year, the city can move funds between accounts from those with a surplus to those facing a deficit, and this allows us to pay our bills while keeping our budget balanced. Resolution 12296 is the third of these, moving a total of $68,500. I move to adopt this resolution by roll call vote.
Second.
All right, comments from the public? Comments from council? All right, roll call?
Mr. Boyer?
Aye.
Ms. Hamlet?
Aye.
Ms. Kelmanson?
Aye.
Mr. Pulowski?
Aye.
Mr. Smallwood?
Aye.
Ms. Toth?
Aye.
President McTiernan?
Aye. Motion carries. Okay, finance number 2, Councilwoman Toth.
Thank you, Council President. We noted at the last council meeting that Officer Jonathan Sowers is retiring from the Summit Police Department at the end of the year. Per closed session discussion, Resolution 12304 authorizes payment of his terminal leave, unused vacation days, and compensatory time, consistent with the city's personnel policy and procedures manual. I move to adopt this resolution.
Second.
All right, comments from the public? Comments from council? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, last finance resolution, number 3, Councilwoman Toth.
Thank you, Council President. Per closed discussion, the city's account clerk, Leza Garzan, recently received a well-deserved promotion to Assistant Treasurer. Resolution 12302 declares a vacancy for the position of account clerk. I move to adopt this resolution.
Second.
Comments from the public? Comments from council? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, at this time, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
Second.
All righty, would any member of the public like to comment on any part of the consent agenda? All right, council comments? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right. Guys good? All right.
I just have one question for Aaron before he goes. I'm sorry, Aaron. I got like a bunch of phone calls, and I don't know, right? So I'm asking you. When it snows, people have complained about the snow that's built up by the meters on the curbside, and is there? I know this came up last year, and I forget what the reasoning was, but is there a reason why that happens? Like we can't move that snow out, so when people get out of their cars, they can just get on the curb and walk to Dunkin' Donuts or whatever. Like they got to jump over it or something like that. I don't know if there's a reason why. I just don't know. And
Yes, through you, Council President. So what happens during a snow event is we have, two actions in conflict where we're pushing the snow off the street, and it's the property owners who are trying to push it as close to the curb line as they can to keep their sidewalk free. So it kind of winds up there. Typically, after 9 inches or more of snow, or a cumulative 9, we will do what we call a downtown cleanup. But even that's usually a day or two after the snowstorm, just so crews can rest. It's costly because it's all overnight. We could do it, more frequently is something we could do, but typically, like in a storm like this, we're still doing cleanup the next day, and then all the people start coming out while we're doing cleanup, and it's just packed in there. So there's nothing on our ordinance that says you can't just kind of stack it there. They should, and we could look into making sure they do shovel just a little path to each space. But even then, they'd have 24 hours to do so after the storm. And unfortunately, with the timing, a lot of people went out Sunday. There was a lot of areas that weren't cleaned yet. But yes, but if they report it, anything they see snow-related, they can put in see-quick fix. If there's something we could do with the ordinance, property maintenance will be out to address it. But some of that is just, there's two conflicting operations, so.
Thank you for the explanation. That was perfect. And by the way, great job on the snow removal. You guys you're great. I can hear those trucks going down Morris Avenue. I'm like, yeah, they're getting out of here. Good job.
Thank you. So, that was good.
All right. Do you have a specific comment about snow removal that maybe, why don't you come up now, and then Aaron, I'm sorry, you can stick around for another minute. Paul. So we are on public comment part of our meeting, so this is perfect timing.
By the way, really great job on the snow portion. But could I ask
Philomena, can you
Philomena, just speak into the microphone.
one little tidbit? With the snow removal as a disabled person, when they're salting, could they pay, please, a little more attention to the ramps? The ramps are not quite getting salted.
So, yes, and through you, Council President. So, a lot of the ramps are the secondary to the operation. So I know Sunday late morning into Sunday afternoon, they weren't getting them all specifically. But by all means, there's hundreds of them. So if there's one that you feel needs a little more TLC, if you absolutely call DCS number, we'll go look at it. But at some point, they should be good during the day Sunday, but you do have refreezing and then people also, we clean and then people push on it. So absolutely. But yes.
It seems to be most of them, and it seems to be, I think what is happening is as people are shoveling the sidewalks, that what's happening is because they're not getting salted well, that the shoveling is pushing it down. So it's becoming a clear problem. So if there's a way to maybe pay a little extra attention to the ramps.
Yes, we can. Is there anywhere specific though? Like, do you have a specific instance? Just
Everywhere.
everywhere. General everywhere. Okay.
Generally everywhere.
Yeah.
And I know that sounds really,
Right.
but it's pretty much everyone I have encountered.
Okay.
So if you go down every single one on Springfield, it's every one of them.
That's
So-
Springfield Avenue downtown,
Spring-
downtown
yeah.
district.
Yes.
Okay.
So, but it's a little bit of a situation, and it wasn't just me. There was, there were other pedestrians, in fact, that I encountered tonight. There was a woman that was having quite a bit of difficulty. So,
Okay. We'll take a look at it.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments. Other comments from the public? This is public comment.
Yeah.
Is it going to be about engineering or parking or anything? No. Okay, all right, you guys can go. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Aaron.
Aaron, thank
No,
you.
very briefly, it's the end of the year. There's 3 members of this council that are not coming back on their days, and I just want, even though I may have disagreed with you often, I just want to thank you for your hard work.
Thank you.
And the rest of you too, but especially the ones who are stepping back to being normal civilians, I guess.
Thank you, Diego. Other comments from the public?
Bonnie Morrison, Rotary Drive. Diego kind of took my thunder because that's what I wanted to say. I didn't prepare anything, but I just wanted to thank Delia, Mike, Kevin for all your hard work, your commitment to doing what was best for the city. Love you guys. And thank you, and we're going to miss seeing you up here.
Thank you.
But we'll see you back here with the rest of us.
Thank you, Bonnie. Other comments from the public? All right. We'll move along to council comments and new business. Do we have any tonight?
I'm just going to keep it really short. I just want to wish everybody a happy Kwanzaa, Hanukkah. Yeah, I didn't think I was going to say Kwanzaa, right? Kocha, yeah. Happy Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. Yeah, you know, people are struggling, right? This is a tough time for folks, you know. Be nice, reach out and hug somebody, right? You know, people are, things are expensive. You know, people are trying to buy those gifts. They're under a lot of stress. You see, look at me tonight, right? I look all, you know, I'm just joking. But, you know, happy holidays to the summer residents, you know. I love all of y'all, and just be nice, you know. Be nice this holiday season, the Christmas spirit. Thanks.
Other council comments? Councilman Pulaski.
So, I just want to thank you guys too. Mike, for your mentorship and hard work. Delia, for all of your incredibly hard work. Kevin, for being a great partner in a whole bunch of projects. You guys did a great job.
She can't hear you.
Oh, sorry. Just wanted to thank Mike and Kevin and Delia. Mike, for your mentorship. Delia, for all of your hard work. You work harder than anybody up here. And Kevin, great partner on a whole bunch of projects on law and labor and community programs. So thank you guys. We'll miss you. You did a great job. And for the public out there, happy holidays to everybody. Be safe. If you, you know, if you partake in some holiday cheer, don't drive. Thanks.
Good one. Councilwoman Commelson.
Thank you, Council President. I just wanted to say to our retiring council members that I know it takes a lot of time and personal sacrifices to serve the city, and I just want to thank everyone for their volunteerism.
Thank you. Other comments? Councilman Smallwood?
Thank you, Council President. I'd like to, I'll hold that for a second. No, this has been great. I've really enjoyed this since I had the shortest term on here of 2 years. But you know, I feel like we accomplished quite a bit in 2 years. So thank you for your service. Thank you for all those who entrusted me with your vote to put me here. And I'm taking my gold plate that says Kevin Smallwood on here. And thank you. It's been an honor. So thank you very much.
Councilwoman Toth.
Thank you, Council President. You know, Mike, we're all grateful to you for stepping up a second time as Council President, even knowing what you were getting into. We've had our disagreements, but as you've often noted, we agree far more often than we disagree, and it's been a pleasure serving with you. Enjoy your second return to private life.
Thank you.
Delia, we've known each other for quite a while, and it's been enlightening to see you in such a different role. The work you've done, particularly on the Mayor's Task Force on Homelessness, has been outstanding, and I'm truly grateful you'll continue that work on the Board of Bridges Outreach. Kevin, I've also known you, I've known all of you a long time, but I really enjoyed working with you on Finance Committee this year. You brought forward some creative solutions to some funding dilemmas, and we're very grateful to you for that. So, enjoy your futures.
Thank you. Other comments? Councilwoman Hamlin? No? Madam Mayor?
I have one announcement that came in during the meeting when I went to the restroom. So, very exciting, convenient new event for Summit residents, sponsored by the Summit Police Department. The Motor Vehicle Commission will be doing vehicle inspection here in Summit at the new firehouse, 281 Broad Street, on December 22nd, which is next Monday, from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. And I also want to tell you that I'm not saying anything about our departing council people tonight because I'm going to say that in January. Thank you.
I just want to say thank you to everybody. This has been an incredible honor, and thank you to Rosie and all the city staff. It's been a tremendous experience, and hopefully we left Summit a little better off than we found it, and wish the new council the best of luck. Had already had those folks in our committee meetings getting everybody ready, so just wish them the best of success, and just thank you for everything.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to wrap up. Real quick, I want to thank Councilman Smallwood for all his hard work that he's done up here for the last couple of years. Your particular focus on our kids, on recreation, on making this place a better place for everyone in our community, for listening, has been amazing. And I've seen what you've done behind the scenes too. You know, you revitalized the PAL's fundraising effort, for instance. No one asked you to do that. You just did it, and that's the type of person you are. And so I've been a real honor to work with you up here, and you've done an amazing job. Councilwoman Hamlet, I said the same thing. You know, I don't even know what to say. This is my second stint up here. I can honestly say I have never worked with a council person who works harder than this woman right here. It's not even close. And I wish people could have seen all the things that I saw on what she did for this community. Whether you were rich or poor, that you lived in the biggest house in town, or you were forced to live in the bus station. She didn't care. She rolled up her sleeves and she worked like nobody else I've ever seen. And I know as a private citizen, I'm going to miss that you're not up here. So you did an amazing job, and I'm really been very proud to have spent some time and worked with you. So good luck with your 30 or 40 hours a week that you're going to get going forward. Yeah, 80 hours. So I never do this. I actually did write something. But I do want to say, because this is my last time up here, and I promise this is really my last time up here. I am not coming back. So I'd like to just give a brief, and I mean really brief reflection on my last 16 months on council. First and foremost, I'd like to thank city staff for their unwavering professionalism, positivity, and their drive to make Summit the best run town in New Jersey. It's really true. While a lot of us up here, we hog the limelight, it's really their dedication that makes our city function on a day-to-day basis. So a huge shout out to our city administrator, Tammy Baldwin, city clerk, Rosemary Licketies, Chief Peters, Chief Evers, Director Schrager, Director Sawicki, Director Kobliska, and Director Ozorowski for helping me with my countless questions and harebrained ideas. I would also like to thank Augusto Domaso, David Guida, Jenny Hoff, Nicole Katiga, and Megan Champney for all their hard work and help. There are many, many others I could mention, but I don't want to keep us here till midnight. But they've all been amazing. I also would like to thank the professionals that we've worked with. A lot of times they don't get the recognition. They were always on call and spent many hours helping solve really intricate problems. So huge thanks to our city solicitor, Matt Giacobbe, who's not here this evening, but also to his colleagues, Ron Kavanaugh and Brian Chakowski. I'd also like to thank our city planner, Tom Behrens, as well as Nancy Holmes, our affordable housing attorney. Both showed amazing patience when I would be less than understanding about the process we had to navigate. I also wish to express my strong appreciation to all the council people up here. We did a lot. We really did. I've often said that the council accomplishes these things, not a bunch of people with R's or D's next to their name. I really, truly believe that. And so just to list some of the noteworthy items to mention, we've provided the expected high level of service to our community while keeping the budget below the 2% cap. That's not easy. And I want to thank Councilwoman Toth for taking the lead on that this year. We've added additional police officers, investing in technology and strengthening the resident protection ordinance, which I believe has had a direct impact on carjackings and home break-ins going down. Adding 2 new firemen to keep us safe while we've actually, in the last 14 months, we opened the new firehouse after all this time. Achieving effective net zero homeless in town. Not just moving homeless folks around, but actually compassionately housing them. That's an incredible achievement that Summit should be incredibly proud of. We've invested in infrastructure. It's not sexy, but it can't be ignored like it has been in some instances. Restoring our recreational facilities, including getting work started at Maybe Playground in Tatlock, raising funds and getting lights to be installed for the spring season at both Upper and Lower Tatlock, addressing parking and safety issues for the neighborhood abutting Tatlock, literally for the first time in 20 years. They've been ignored for 20 years. So I'm really proud that we actually started to listen to that neighborhood. And then navigating our affordable housing obligations for round 3 and putting the final touches on round 4. And we'll see, as I said, to be announced in a week or so. In addition, we've sold the firehouse site. This was a multi-year effort that included a bid swap, rezoning, and marketing the property. I'm extremely pleased to depart council with this important piece of our downtown and the city's future finances firmly in place. And then finally, I'd be remiss to say, we hired some amazing people in the last 14 months. If you recall, when I started, we did not have a city administrator. We didn't. That was not easy to work the first several months. Couldn't be happier that we actually looked inside and found Tammy. So when I look back on one of the things I'm most proud of doing the last 14 months is working to have Tammy run the city for us. So that was awesome. But we also hired Jenny Hoff, Jennifer Koplinski. We did a lot of work in filling empty boxes on the org chart to make our city run more smoothly. And a lot of people don't see that, but it's super, super important. And then lastly, just one of my goals when I started was to kind of try and improve the tenor of the dialogue during council meetings. I worked really, really hard to do that. And while sometimes I wasn't sure whether that was working really, really well, we had some interesting meetings. But for the most part, I think, people have been very, very respectful. I've been very, very proud of the way people have handled themselves in public. And I think that's a great reflection, not of me, but of our community. So that's really, really good. I would love it if we could lower the tone on social media. I'm not a magician, so I'm not going to hold my breath on whether that's going to happen, but I can always hope. And then finally, I just want to thank my wife and my family for allowing me to do this one more time. It's been a real pleasure to serve the community. I've made a lot of new friends. I've reconnected with old friends, and proud of the work I've done, but I couldn't have done it without their support. But I do want to thank all of you. So thank you. Mr. Smallwood.
Council President, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we are adjourned. Have a great holiday and a very Merry Christmas, Kwanzaa, Hanukkah to all of you.
Good time.